Life's a Beach Realty. We're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast. Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand. Every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.
Hey guys, welcome back to Blake and Blake Sports here, live on Bucs Report. Join the 62,000 following live from Ferg's 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether you want to watch the Tampa Bay Rays, who are on at 6 o'clock today, 6:10 to be exact, against the Chicago White Sox. Chop at the Trop, if I can say it.
The Trop.
Yes, because we got Florida State fans coming by as we're speaking. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell, and also Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. Whether it's the Rays, the Lightning, or, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, get down here. Great food, great service. So we have some breaking news of the day, Mr. Blake Cabell, as Devin White has officially signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was reported about 15 minutes ago from Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Finally, you get him in camp and right around the corner, so everybody is signed up, signed, sealed, and delivered, right?
About time. About damn time. I mean, everybody was talking about all these predictions and everything like that. And I'm just like, can we get them signed first? And I'd like to move on to the next thing. Let's work on one thing and then move on to the other. So now that that's done, now let's talk about predictions and what he's going to do for us, on which I'm assuming is going to be great things.
Yeah, and I need you to get into that mic just a little bit there, Quiet Storm, because, you know, we're not doing a jazz station here. It's Blake and Blake Sports.
Why not?
You shut up. And we got Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy here. Lots of Florida State fans just roaming the streets. I love it. Throw it up. Go ahead.
There is. We've met Florida State softball players.
Yes.
We've met the president and vice president of the Florida State St. Petersburg Pinellas County chapter fan club.
Yes.
We're out here at Ferg's. We got the Pacquiao-Thurman fight tonight. It's just live. It's happening. That's why we come here every Saturday.
That's what I'm saying. Like, where would you rather be? Yes, it's hot out, but there's air inside, great refreshments.
There's a lot of air out here, too. But
there's air out here, but that's
great
hot
fans.
air from you, and you shut up over there.
The quiet storm.
All right,
Quiet
so yes,
storm.
we got Devin White has just signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so a lot of happy Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans out there. We'll talk with you on Blake and Blake Sports. Get into the article that Adam Rank of NFL.com wrote about. White and his potential, talk about Colin Cowherd and his comments. Just recap all the Buccaneer news for the week, but I want to get some fans on here because they've been waiting
Patiently.
with bated breath to get on here. We got a kid who's a Rays fan. That's always a good thing. His father has
I
brought
definitely
him
love the Sox.
out here, and I wonder if these guys are also Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans. Let's get him on here live on Blake and Blake Sports from Ferg's 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Go ahead, get into that mic there. Want to make sure, Ray, get them set up so they can get into that mic.
Set him up for success, right?
That's it. There you go. So what's your name?
Levi.
And Mark.
Okay. And what's his name again?
Levi.
Levon. Okay. All right. You guys are big-time Rays fans. You going to the game today versus the White Sox?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How long you guys been Rays fans for?
Since we moved here in 96.
96. Wow. And they've been around since 98. So you guys have been waiting for baseball to get down here. When somebody tells you that they're going to split the season up, it's not working for you, right? Because you guys are big-time Rays fans. How many games do you think you go to a year?
We go to about 8.
Okay. You think if you went to, you would go to more if they would kind of lower the ticket prices down a little bit, maybe the concessions a little bit?
Absolutely. They ought to let you in for $5 and then charge you $10 for beers.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Now, we're on Bucks Report. Join the 62,000 following here live on Facebook. Are you guys Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans?
Yes.
Okay.
Time.
All right. How long have you guys been Bucks fans for?
Since 96.
96.
I was a Cowboys fan, but turned to Bucks.
See, there you go. That's what I'm talking about.
That's
We've
what I
had
like to
fans
hear.
today
Oh, yeah.
that, we shut up, moved down from Chicago. He's a Rays fan, and now you were a Dallas Cowboy fan. Now you're a Bucks fan. So are you excited about Bruce Arians being the new coach, and what are your expectations for the Bucks in 2019?
I'm thinking we're going to have a really good program this year.
Really good team. All right. Can I get a number of wins from both of you?
I'm going to say 11 wins.
11 wins, 11-5. What about you, Livon?
10.
Get in that mic there, because you didn't say it loud enough.
10.
10, that's right. You know
I
why
like
he said
that.
10? Because your host right here, Peter Blake, said 10. He's a smart kid. He's going in the right direction. So, okay, what's your favorite Tampa Bay Buccaneer of all time?
Hard to say, ain't it?
Not really.
I'm going to say Derek Brooks.
Derek Brooks. Who's my favorite player?
Derek.
Mr. Derek Brooks.
And
there you
where's
go.
he played? He played at Florida
Florida
State.
State. There you go. All right. So you guys are Florida State fans. Clearly, you're out here for the Florida State Gathering Booster Club. Lots of Florida State fans, softball players. There could be some special guests here in a little bit on Blake and Blake Sports. Who's your favorite? What do you guys think about Jameis Winston?
I think he's going to be a star this year.
Star this year. Okay.
It's gonna be okay.
Gonna be okay. That's it? Is this gonna be okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, do me a favor. Get into that mic, look into that camera, and tell them you've been on Blake and Blake Sports on Bucks Report.
We've been on Blake and Blake Sports on Buck
Boy,
Report.
there you go. Good job, guys. Thanks a lot for
Y'all
coming
have
on.
a great day.
Yes,
Thanks for having us.
absolutely. Enjoy the game. Enjoy all the festivities here live. And I don't know why that's on there, why you got your laptop on there, Blake. I don't know what's going on there, buddy. So you got to turn that off, and then hopefully, yes, you've got to turn that
There
off,
you
my
go.
friend. Okay.
There you go.
So we're live on Blake and Blake Sports. We got Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, who will be coming back here. I think he's gathering up those special guests from Florida State. But we talked about Devin White and the potential. They signed him today. That's breaking news from Rick Stroud of Tampa Bay Times about 15 minutes ago here, reporting it on Bucks Report and on the Sports Web. But getting back to White, Adam Rank writes an article, says he could be a potential Pro Bowler. He could bring that aggressive nature, that leadership that you need for this team, because let's just face it, we talked about it ad nauseum. The defense is bad. They need a facelift. The facelift is either coming in Ndamukong Suh, Todd Bowles, and also Devin White. So what's your opinion on this article with them, with basically Rank saying you could get a multi-Pro Bowler, a generational talent in Devin White?
Well, I think everybody knew from the beginning that Devin White had the talent, being a running back, switching to linebacker with that alone, doing that, being successful on a collegiate level, now transitioning that to the NFL level, which is going to be a little more intangibles, and he's going to be asked to do more on an NFL scale. But so when you got a young talent like that, you got to be able to get the most out of his talent and not just allow him to rely on his athletic ability. Devin White is going to be really hard in the playbook, really hard watching film, and become an idol like our divisional rival in Luke
Right.
Kuechly.
Right, and you want him. Basically the reason why you draft him is not only because the pressure is predicated with this defense from the linebacking position, but also you want him to match up versus a Christian McCaffrey and an Alvin Kamara and even a Devontae Freeman if Cutter decides to run the ball and throw it to his running back in that Atlanta offense, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we saw here Cutter didn't really want to run the ball.
Sure.
He lied to a lot of us. Well, I won't say lied. I'll just say he misled a lot of us to believe he was going to use the backs properly, which he did not.
Mhm.
So I know Devontae Freeman isn't going to be too happy out there in Atlanta because he's not going to run the ball, even though they paid Freeman a buttload of money in his contract, and they're barely using him. And Cutter is probably going to do the same thing now. And if anything, Freeman should be getting more carries because now Tevin Coleman left and went to the San Francisco 49ers, who we play in week 1. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to run that offense out there in Atlanta.
Yeah, and I think the key for that 49ers offense is if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be healthy. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, we got fans on today. You've got Florida State boosters in the house. We've got a lot of work to do, buddy. We're going to have to run you around, get some of these people
Yeah,
on.
I went over there already. They just got settled in. They're kind of like doing their opening cocktail.
Okay.
But I let them know that we're over here. They're definitely interested.
Hopefully
so.
not too many cocktails.
No, not
Although
well,
that
the
would
more
be
the merrier.
interesting.
I mean,
yes.
really.
You just shut up.
Loosen up.
Hey, can I, since
Uh,
you mentioned Frisco and the Bucks, let me ask you a question. And I don't
Sure.
mean to pose it to give horse in the mouth, but right now, straight up, not being a Bucks fan, just being an NFL fan, would you trade Ndamukong Suh and Devin White for Sosa? Not for Sosa, but for Nick, the 49ers first round pick. I can't even think of his name now.
Nick Bosa.
Nick Bosa.
And having Levante back at middle linebacker. What would you take straight up right now?
You mean
not
Quan?
being a Buccaneer fan. Or Quan, I'm sorry, Levante.
It's okay.
So Quan and Bosa, or you want Ndamukong and Devin White with his upside? What would you
Look, I'm ready to see what Devin White and Ndamukong Suh can do in this defense. I think they fit perfectly.
Right.
I'm buying it. I'm not a Quan Alexander fan. Never been a Quan Alexander fan. In fact, I thought he was overrated.
Well,
I thought he was an
fourth-
overrated talent.
He
And
was
I
a
think
fourth-round pick. I mean,
he's a fourth-round pick that missed a lot of tackles.
that's true. He relied.
And a lot of people will come and say, well, you 78 missed tackles, but he was a raw. He was a raw
in
guy.
the league. I think we talked about this several times. He's a guy where I said relied on athletic ability,
Sure.
and it got him by sometimes, and a lot of time it didn't get you by. Because
Sure.
Lo and behold, in this league, there's a lot of smart individuals that play this game, and if you mess up or lack somewhere, somebody's going to take advantage of you.
Yeah, no,
That's
absolutely.
over aggressiveness, and that was his upside.
Relying strictly on his speed, and it's not going to work. Sometimes you have to stick your head in there. You're going to have to blow up a fullback. You have to fill that B gap so to bounce it outside so somebody else can make
Can you
tackles.
imagine the first time Kamara catches it in the flat and White lights him up? That's gonna.
Well,
be
I mean,
sweet.
and then that's
I
what
mean,
you
it's
that's
gonna
what you envision, and that's what this article said. Rank says that he's going to solidify the middle, that he's quick and fast. You hear that because of the middle presence of Vay and Sue, that it's going to spill outside. You played the game of football, so you explain that a little bit. It's kind of self-explanatory. If you have that middle with Vay and Sue, it's going to be an advantage to the linebackers, right?
What I envision what this defense is going to be, I'm going to try to explain it the easiest way I can.
Sure.
What you're going to see is you're going to see the two defensive tackles. That could be with that kind of defense, you can use the ends and put in there. But my biggest vision is going to be Vea and Sue at the two over the guards, possibly maybe one in the A gap and one over top of the guard, and just creating as much penetration as possible. And then the end will be out wide, standing in. And then you'll have that linebacker standing in that gap between the end and that interior lineman that's playing over the A technique. And then you're either going to run loops out of that, or you're going to run blitzes from Devin White coming in that extra gap, because whoever the back's got to pick up is going to free a lane for somebody else. So I expect a lot of explosion in that. And the key to all that is going to be simplifying your job. So if your job is just to blow up the guard and just create as much hell as possible, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's whether it's a run or a pass.
Sure.
You just blow up the gap, and hopefully you get double team and freeze up somebody else, or just cause any type of no throwing clean pocket for a quarterback to throw. That's a win. Everything's not predicated just on a sack. It's messing up the
Blowing it up, having that penetration.
the fluidity of a play,
right,
and making the quarterback think about
which
it
I don't
fast.
think McCoy did enough of. And you've shown on your film, which you're going to have your film session, that
it wasn't
he did
consistent enough. No, you're right.
Thank you. Okay.
Not a $13 million. I never disagreed.
Thank you
with that.
very much.
But hopefully Sue can get that as well, because now you're,
Right.
you're getting a year and a half older
Exactly.
Sue than McCoy. But
Better run stopper, according to Pro Football Talk. Or not Pro
you
Football
can't
Talk,
you
Pro
can't you
PFF.
can't argue that
Right.
because if Sue has a 30-game lead on McCoy and you only have a sack and a half more of them, then clearly McCoy was a better pass rusher than you. Then that argument is dead. But as far as run stuffing ability and dominate a line of scrimmage, that's definitely Sue. I'll give him credit for that.
Now you see, and here's and you're exactly right, Blake. But this is what I want to know. It drives me crazy. Being just I'm going to say it, I'm a huge Bucks fan. It's hard for me to be
We got to be a little bit unbiased.
a little unbiased. Well, I'm just
Right.
saying, going back. But
Sure.
what I'm getting at, though, is I follow all the drafts. We follow the Saints and the Carolina Panthers and the Falcons. But now everything you just said, Blake, is totally exactly how the 3-4 should work and the solidity of our defense. But if you get a healthy first-round Vernon Hargraves now, mixed up with some of the back end talent we have now. That's why I say 11-5. That's why I make that argument right now.
Well,
I mean, we're still one of the top 10 offenses in the NFL going in.
The biggest everybody wants to beat on the secondary so bad. I've watched the Giants win 2 Super Bowls with subpar corners. Meanwhile, because they had a dominant defensive front. When you don't have to cover anybody for more than 3 seconds, you can be aggressive as you want. You can jump routes. You can make those risks. That's why in Mike Smith's defense, he said you can play as far off as you want. Why? Because he knows he wasn't going to get a pass rush. So pretty much you're up to debate on how far off you want to play somebody. But when aggressive style defense where the quarterback's got to think about where he's going to go with the ball and make that decision quickly, these DBs can be really, really aggressive now. And that's the style of defense that BA and Bowles want to play.
Can we disagree?
Yeah.
The worst it got for the Bucs defense in the last decade was against the Bears last year when they were
outcoached.
When they go on the third time around on the wheel route and the guy's still coming open, and then finally we would we'd find them. That was just the worst defensive. And I mean, I've given teams that they got waxed. The team.
Well, that's a team
right
giving up. And that's also, like you said, undercoached by Mike Smith, not being able to figure it out.
When you get blown, when a team scores every possession, you were outcoached.
Boom.
You were not ready for that. And Grimes even explained that even in the locker room. He said there was multiple people on their cell phones in the locker room that game. Why are you on your damn cell phone and you're getting your butts blown out by 20-plus points and going into halftime?
You think that happens with Arians at the head coach?
No way.
You're damn right.
You'll be taking your pads off and getting on the plane early.
Yep.
That's what
and that goes back to accountability. And what you're watching right now is Blake and Blake Sports here live on Bucs Report. Join the 62,000 following on Facebook. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell. Also, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy on this fun-filled day. Chop at the Trop. A lot of Florida. That's it. A lot of Florida State fans running around here. You got the Booster Club, so we'll have them on here in a little bit. Also, you have the Keith One-Time Thurman, Clearwater resident, versus Manny Pacquiao tonight. We'll have a pre-show. You going to hang out for that, or are you going to be getting out of here?
Oh, no, we'll see how it is.
All right.
How many drinks I have.
And you know what? Okay. All right. So there you go. All right. Speaking about chopping, it seemed like Colin Cowherd yesterday was chopping down Jameis Winston. I don't know if you've seen the comments.
I've seen it.
But, he's kind of saying, Ezekiel Elliott's immature, and then he's putting Winston in the same breath as Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield, which I thought was unfair. I agree with him to a certain point with Elliott. Mayfield, not so much, but Manziel, absolutely. But for him to put in Winston in that same conversation as Manziel and then say 8 games to a year, and that's all he has. Come on. 8 games to a year, that's it? That's all Winston has with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I've said this from the beginning. I'm not looking for pity from anybody. We got to earn the respect from ESPN, our own news media, and our fans, because we went 5-11 2 years in a row. But to speak on what Hurd is saying, I get what he's saying. He's saying when you're that high of a pick, Manziel wasn't that high, but we're talking about Mayfield and Winston. When you're picked number 1, the team doesn't want to wait for you to get mature. Sure. You got to be ready. You're invested. I get all that. He's right. He's absolutely right. There's no wait, because when you got to wait more years, that means your older players are getting older.
Sure.
That window of opportunity for people being at the peak of their performance is closing. Mm-hmm. So people have to remember that it's not always, next year. You don't know. Somebody could go down in preseason, and then that's over. Now you're scrambling, trying to figure out something else. I think we were subject to that last year with all the injuries, and you see how that looks, especially when you're lacking at the depth department. But I've always liked her because he speaks how he feels about certain situations. He really is not biased, and he's right. I don't know if you've seen him earlier. He had Mayfield on his show earlier, and Mayfield actually went back at him about it. It was his end zone celebration. How he said he wasn't celebrating with his players. He was celebrating in the stands, kind of showboating and all that. Mm-hmm. But Mayfield went back. He said, I went to the student section and celebrated with them and then went to the sidelines. So I get what he's saying with maturity when you're picked that high, because it's a business. It is a business. The having playing for fun is really out the window. It doesn't matter. These people are spending their money on you and risking their jobs and their business and trying to keep their business and the organization being successful and keeping people butts in seats. So I understand where he's coming as far as a business aspect.
All right, let's read some comments here. Vernon says Big Mike. Jimmy Gazade, I think he was saying Eric Red is his favorite Buck of all time. Also said Hardy Nickerson. Ricky Bell says Vernon. Corey wants to update us on the Rays. Ryan Stanek to the injured list. Rays recall Wood and Brendan McKay sent back down to AAA after that outing last night. 5 runs, not good. So we'll check on that information. You never know with Corey. He's always trolling at 1,000, but we'll take your word for it. Steve Young, somebody says Todd is going to turn the defense around. Trust in Todd. We've talked about this. People
worried.
said, look, maybe the talent's not there. Much has been made about Quan Alexander losing Gerald McCoy. But to me, it's a culture shock. We've been through it. I think it's all about the coaching, using the talent. And this organization, after the Ryan Smith suspension, they had an idea. You know what? We need to improve the secondary. We're going to draft Mike Edwards. We're going to draft Jamal Dean. And we're going to draft Sean Bunting to make it. Of course, it's all predicated on the pressure that you're getting from your defensive line, namely your linebackers, right?
Yep, in this system, linebackers are going to rush because the linebackers are technically the defensive ends now in our new system. So, yes, you're going to need to get pressure from the linebackers. You're going to see the interior guys get in there and get as well. You're going to see the interior guys covering backs out the backfield, especially our division with 2 backs that come into mind right off the back is Kamara and McCaffrey, which the Panthers rely heavily. Red. I said
That was red.
red, right? In the
Yeah, no. Is that right
Yes,
there?
red.
That was right. Okay, so you got Rhett Matthew coming by. Ren Dax, he wanted to know if you come. Look, you want to come by? We're here live at Ferg's all day long doing shows here. Blake and Blake Sports, the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. We're getting fans on. We're doing it big here. Live at Ferg's, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether you want to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay Rays, which are on 610 today versus the Chicago White Sox, or, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, get down here. And in case you missed the big-time announcement, Bucs Report, the Sports Web, has been credentialed for training camp. July 26th, the first day. We'll be out there. We'll be doing a live show with the Sports Web, yours truly, along with Allison Kohler, and also August 6th. So a lot of great things going on with Bucs Report. Of course, it is the official home here at Ferg's for Buccaneer watch parties. If you're a Buccaneer fan, get out here during the road games instead of sitting at home. Be a part of the 62,000 following on Facebook.
Boom. Enough said.
Enough said. All right, let's read some more comments here, and then we will talk about Cameron Brate getting cleared yesterday.
I love that guy.
Time.
All right, guys.
Everywhere this offseason. He was over at the Hotspur Stadium release with the NFL, with the youth program. Then we just saw him with the Cars and Kids for our Cars for Cancer. With the Jameis was out there over at the hospital, and they had that big special thing fundraiser this week. I mean, Cameron's been making the rounds this offseason. But again, I say we have so many offensive weapons, and you got $8 million as we get into the preseason. Could he become a commodity for a team that needs a good, solid tight end?
Save that thought. We're going to read some more comments, and then we'll get back to that because that's a great question. Let's see here. Somebody says Steve Young. The young players, we have no way. White and Sue, going back to that whole thing. I believe we got Rhett Matthew coming on here. He's just coming in here, so we'll get him on of Cannon Fire Podcast. I don't have his lower third up, but Mr. Rhett Matthew of Cannon Fire Podcast.
I'll be Mr. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy.
There you go.
He puts the M
2.5 the bone. There you go. An unexpected arrival, but this is Bucs Report family right here live on Blake and Blake Sports here at Ferg's on Central Avenue. Get out here doing shows all day long. Salute to you guys, Florida State boosters. So, Rhett Matthew, what's going on, buddy?
Not too much, man. I'm actually going to be doing an event here in St. Pete, right around the corner at a bar called The Galley. If anybody in St. Pete or anyone watching is interested, we have got the Downtown St. Petersburg Songwriters Festival. We have an event going on tonight, like I said, at The Galley from 5 to 7. So I'm going to be working there with the great radio station 97X. And I noticed we were in the same part of town. I just dropped off a buddy of mine to grab a Kratom shake, and I said, let me catch up with my guys at Bucs Report. So here I am, man.
All right, and in case you missed the breaking news, we broke it about 15 minutes ago. Well, actually, I should say Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times reports, and we reported it here live on Bucs Report, is that Devin White has signed officially with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
About time.
The impact of him, first signing, getting into camp, I think we kind of knew when it was going to happen. It finally happens. It's a good thing with everything that's slotted in between for these rookie draft picks. What do you think the impact of White on this defense is?
I think looking at Devin White, and we actually talked about this last night. There's a new episode of the Cannon Fire podcast. Our season predictions episode is going to be live today at 6 p.m. on YouTube.com. So make sure you guys go check that out. But
wish you would have done it here.
it would have been nice, but
yes.
I had to be at work pretty early.
Yes, but you're welcome anytime here on the live broadcast.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you.
We were talking about Devin White last night and his impact, and I think looking at him compared to other rookies, say, for example, a Sean Murphy-Bunting, Devin White is in a position where he can immediately make a unit around him better. With the tools that he has, he can make Levante David a better linebacker than he is now. And that's, Levante David is an all-pro. What, the top 5 linebacker in the league, if I've got to be honest with you. But you look at a lot of different situations he can be used and how he can fit in, send some pressure to the quarterback. If he's got to roll outside the pocket, let's say we're playing a scrambler like Kyler Murray, he rolls outside the pocket, Devin White gets the pressure there, Levante David can clean it up, and that's a big play. Right. That opens the doors for just everyone around him to ultimately play to their strengths a little better than they did before.
Now, going back to the rank article here, Blake and Rhett, and what you're watching right now is Blake and Blake Sports live here on Bucs Report. Rhett Matthew, Cannon Fire podcast, which you can find besides that great podcast, Real Bucs Talk with Michael Pless, Buck What You Heard with my buddy Gene Thomas Michael Pless. And then, of course, I got to listen to this podcast, keep on saying it, Bucs Ball with JT, which will definitely get him on sometime. More than welcome here on the Sports Web and Blake Sports. Going back to the article, he's saying White's going to solidify the middle and also come in as an aggressive leader. In your opinion, guys, do you think he has that charisma to take over and be a leader in this defense, or are we looking too much at White at this point?
I don't want to put too much pressure on a guy. That's kind of like I want to learn from my mistakes if I'm Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I want White to come in and feel comfortable in his playing his skill set and not overthink and forget to just play football. So when I'm saying that is I don't want to repeat mistakes. And I'll say that is because we did that with Gerald McCoy. When he came in, we put overly expectations on a guy to fix a terribly bad defense that never really changed the entire time he was here. And that's partially his fault and partially the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' fault. So I want to say I want him to come in here and earn his own identity. I want him to be Devin White and come in here and mold this team into something special, mold it into something he can work with and be involved and learn from veteran players like Levante David and Ndamukong Suh and guys like that, and coaches. Let me just not say players. Let me say coaches as well, guys that's played the game and understand what it's like being in the position, coming in here with high expectations and goals, and you want to achieve all those things. I just want to tell Devin White, if you ever hears this, just don't overachieve. Play within your boundaries and do what you're asked to do. And the fans will love you, and everybody will respect you in that locker room if they know if you're the guy that's going to charge the gun tower when you're asked to do so.
Good stuff. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, kind of like what you had said, Blake. Gerald McCoy, since day one, he was brought in, and they expected him to fill that role, to be a vocal leader on the defense, but also just be the guy to kind of fix the situation they were stuck in. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to do that during his tenure here. Devin White doesn't have that same pressure on him. He already has an established leader on that defense in Levante David, who, I mean, to be fair, we've seen take a little more of a vocal role these past few years. I know his first 5 years or so in the league, he wasn't a very vocal guy. He wasn't the guy who's going to yell and get everybody riled up. Eventually, that was Quan Alexander, and I think towards the end of his time here, we saw Levante step up and take on that role. But I think he's got much better pieces around him. And, coaching is just as important, but he's going to be set up to succeed, and let's hope we see it.
There you go. We're live here at Ferg's, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether you want to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay Rays, or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, definitely get down here. Official home of Bucs Report. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Cabell. Also, Rhett Matthew of 102.5 The Bone, 97X Today, and, of course, Cannon Fire Podcast. Corey Brown trolling at 1,000.
Always.
And he's saying Jadeveon Clowney trade to Bucs near future. Guys,
Maybe
that's
year.
kind of been talked about in the same respect of, look, he's having contract trouble right now because he doesn't want to sign a long-term deal. He's not close to a long-term deal. On top of it, Blake, they've changed the general manager, so theoretically they don't even have a general manager. But in order for the Bucs to do this, guys, they would have to basically free up cap. They just signed Devin White, so now maybe you can talk about it if they're going to go another direction, which means they would let go of JPP, which I can't see them doing, right? Go ahead, take it. Anybody.
It's a touch and go situation right now when you bring up JPP. Jadeveon Clowney, in his case, that seems like something the Bucs would want to focus on if they want to focus their attention towards that. That seems like something that would be brought up a little more during the next offseason.
Sure.
And truly and honestly, we're going to have to see what kind of Jadeveon Clowney we see this year. Because
hasn't been able to stay healthy.
I've
He's
seen
not consistent.
2 versions
right.
of Jadeveon Clowney since he's entered the league, and
Sure.
one of them has disappointed me a little bit more than the other one has. So if he can stay healthy and he can be the great player that we all know that he is, you know, he made that one big play in the Outback Bowl, and
Which is here in Tampa.
Yeah, kind of disappeared after that. So he's a great player, but he's not a consistent player.
And you're mentioning it in college when he was at South Carolina, one big year, and then he kind of took off. And a lot of people were questioning, you know, is he worth that number 1 pick? And again, he's had flashes of brilliance. You can see it. He's playing with J.J. Watt, which helps him out too. But the guy can't stay healthy. Is he a beast? Is he an upgrade over what the Bucs defense has? Absolutely. But again, there's financial concerns, and it's not like the Texans, Blake, are going to give him away.
Well, I got a different perspective than Rhett. Well, this is fun. This is why you have
Okay,
debates.
good.
No, what Rhett says is legit. But here's my thing, and I've weighed on it, and I've weighed on it, and I've weighed on it. And here it comes. JPP hurt his neck.
Okay.
He doesn't look like he's going to be playing anytime soon.
So you
And
don't buy the late October.
If you come back October, you're not in football shape.
and
So
even-
at this point, it's time to just move on. What are we holding on for? So if you're going to make a move and upgrade your defense, if you want to go out and get Jadeveon Clowney, then just pull the trigger and do it. Because that's something we've never been good at doing. We're very good at lingering. We're good at lingering.
Hindsight is always 20/20.
Yep. We're good at lingering around and swinging on the fence on the
You
decision.
linger around a lot.
Yeah, we're just, on this
I'm
one,
just joking.
I'm pretty. You're not going to hold on to him for too much longer anyway.
Right.
And he has a neck injury. It's very serious when you're playing football. There's no way to avoid a neck and a hit contact involving your neck in football.
Right.
And whether in rushing or tackling. So in my eyes, he's done as far as in Tampa Bay to me.
Well, and
he
look,
saved-
it's not like a quarterback thing where Peyton Manning, you know, he gets protected by an offensive line and his neck isn't, you know, his neck
Right.
is right. It's in danger, but you're talking about a defensive
Offensive
end
line,
that
yep.
always has to be engaged to an offensive lineman, has to engage that. How, you know, like you said, football shape.
Yep.
How much
Yeah.
football shape
Yeah,
is
that's
he
we're
gonna
just
be?
talking about injury. Now
Right.
you're talking about football shape when he comes
Right.
back. He's not going to be there.
Right.
And he's taking up $13 million.
Sure.
So if you want to make this move, then just pull the trigger and do it. I said, because in my eyes, he's done. I'm not just talking about he might play for somebody else, and I hope he doesn't re-injure himself. Man's got a family and a life to live. He's just barely in his 30s. I don't want to see that for anybody. But if you're just talking about a football standpoint and a business standpoint, you need to just move on.
Right.
Because what are you lingering for? You're not going to keep him long term.
Right.
What are you waiting for?
And one of the big words I took away from that you said was re-injure, and that's a major possibility because you look at the route that he took. He chose not to get surgery, which would ultimately, I don't want to say patch him up better, but I feel like it would take away your chances of a re-injury, especially one as major as a neck injury. And like you said, dude, he's a defensive lineman. It is constant contact, play after play. You're going to be met with a guy who's going to match the same energy that you do.
Yep.
And a lot of times, if you're sent in on one wrong blitz, one wrong play, I mean, you know, even just taking a weird bump on a block, it could be terrible. And you don't want to see stuff like that happen.
Hang out here for a little bit. We got a special guest here from the Florida State
Hold that thought.
Booster Club, if I can talk.
Come on in.
Chop at the Trop. Come on in here on Blake and Blake
Chop at
Sports
the Trop.
live on Bucs Report. Join the 62,000 following on Facebook. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Cabell here. Get into that mic. What's your name, sir?
My name is Christopher Rotolo, and I'm with the Pinellas Seminoles Club.
All right,
I'm
what
the
do you?
vice president.
All right, Vice President.
VP.
Welcome to Blake and Blake Sports. There you go, here live on Bucs Report. Join the 62,000 following on Facebook. What are you guys doing here today?
Well, we're here for the Chop at the Trop to support the Seminole Boosters. We have a bunch of FSU fans here. We're also here to promote some of the events that we have coming up. Pinellas Seminoles Club has our kickoff party on August 17th from 4 to 8 at the rec deck. Going to have a cornhole tournament. You're going to have the ability to win tickets to any Florida State game. Some signed stuff by Peter Warwick.
Peter Warwick.
Oh, yeah.
There's a Florida State legend right there,
it
ladies
is.
and gentlemen.
Yes, he is.
Throw it up. There you go.
We also have the Tampa here. Tampa has their kickoff party on August 10th, and Manatee as well on August 3rd. So if you're an FSU fan, come support your team. 3 great events. You can find everybody on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter.
Good stuff.
Instagram, everything.
Good
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
So much has been made about Jameis Winston, of course, a former Seminole here. In your opinion, do you think he has a breakout year with Bruce Arians?
Oh yeah, I think that everybody just needs to
Relax a little bit. Just relax.
Give
You
him
know,
a
relax.
give a little
make
Aaron
him feel
Rodgers.
comfortable. Let him get in his element, and I think that he's going to come out great. We all support Jameis, and we're looking forward to seeing him have a good season and a good career.
Now, does she want to get on with you here? Because she can come on if she wants.
She's
behind the scenes.
She's behind the scenes.
How about just come and introduce
Just
yourself?
show yourself.
There you go.
say your
Just
name.
get on
All
that mic here and what
This
you're
is
watching
This
here.
is our president of the Pinellas Seminole Club.
All right, there you go. Welcome to Blake and Blake Sports here live on Bucs Report, the 62,000 following on Facebook. A lot of great Seminole fans there. In fact, one that we all know, Keith Larson, who kind of runs this.
He's in Tallahassee.
Right, he's in Tallahassee right
Tallahassee.
now. So, great event going on, Chop at the Trop. Tell everybody about that in case they get into that mic just a little bit there.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got the Pinellas Seminole Club and our Seminole boosters here putting on a great event for us. We do this every year. We love coming out to Tropicana Field for Chop at the Trop. So that's what we're here for. We're hanging out at Ferg's here in St. Pete, having a good time before the game. And then actually one of our biggest Seminole Club sponsors, which helps go to fund scholarships to students from our community here in Pinellas County.
Great stuff.
Attending FSU. One of our biggest sponsors is the Hunger and Thirst Group. And so they've got their location inside the Trop ballpark and rec. So definitely check them out while you're there too and after the game as well.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And you got Peter Warwick and you got some a lot of other giveaways and stuff like that. I even seen the softball team out here.
Yeah.
I asked him about Jameis Winston. A lot of people wondering because thanks a lot, Rhett. There you go, Rhett.
Yeah,
Matthew,
thanks, Rhett.
Cannon Fire Podcast, getting out of here. Winston and his year. Do you think he turns it around for this Tampa Bay team? Much has been made. Bruce Arians coming in as a new coach, quarterback whisperer. Do you think he turns it around in 2019?
Oh, we're big fans, absolutely. So I think so, and of course we've supported him all along, and we still will. So we're glad to have him on board.
Let me get you both in here because we're live here on Blake and Blake Sports from Ferg's, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether you want to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay Rays, or of course the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and of course Saturdays Florida State football. I know Mark Ferguson is a big time Florida State fan
is.
like yours truly right here. Throw it up. Florida State football, kind of a down year this year. Willie Taggart kind of gets his feet wet a little bit. Do you think they turn it around this year? Because the schedule kind of favors them. You still got Clemson. In your opinion, can they turn it around this year?
I gotta say, we went to the Top Golf. What was it? The Boosters. What was it? Well, we got to see the team, and we saw Willie. Willie looks very focused. The team looks very much in shape.
Okay.
They look completely different, and I think that this year they're gonna surprise a lot of people.
Surprise a lot of people. And I think it comes down to quarterback. And, you know, DeAndre Francois is not there anymore, so I think they have some stability there, but it comes down to Willie Taggart. Taggart has done it before. He did it with USF. It took him a couple years. I think you look, Florida State people need to be patient because Jimbo Fisher, who was there, yeah, you won a national championship, but kind of left the cupboard a little bit bare with recruits. You got to get back to the recruiting, and that's why I think they hired Willie Taggart in the first place. Yeah. So
he's a very composed coach. We got to talk to him. Very well spoken. He's a smart man. I just think you just got to give him a chance.
All right,
That's
out
it.
there, I know there's Florida State fans, so tell them about your event again, Chop at the Trop, and being down here in Fergs in case there's some Florida State fans, which another Florida State fan walking by.
Everywhere.
Throw it up. There you go. That's a North Carolina fan. Don't hold it against me. That's on him. Go ahead. Tell them about your event.
Yeah, absolutely. You still got time to get out here to Ferg's, hang out with us before the game, and then we'll be at Tropicana Field for our annual Chop at the Trop. having a good time. There'll be a big Seminole presence there at Tropicana Field, and we'll have a good time. Stay in touch with the Pinellas Seminole Club as well. We're your kind of local connection to everything FSU. We have events every month, charitable events and events that are just a good time. So stay in touch with us. We'll watch every single game, have a big party for that down at the Avenue. In downtown St. Pete. So we had a good time.
I'll tell you what, I'll throw out this invitation because we do the Sports Web and Blake Sports here live on Bucs Report almost every Saturday at Ferg's. Anytime you guys want to have a watch party, you want to get some celebrities on, or just come down here with a lot of crazy Florida State fans, let's do it.
That sounds great. We're in.
Did you also tell them?
Thank you very much.
All right, there you go. I want you to do me one more favor here because we have everybody do it as a guest on this program. You've been on Blake Sports Live here on Bucs Report.
You've been on Blake here on Live Bucs Report.
There you go. Blake Sports on Bucs Report, the Sports Web. Chop at the Trop. Great event. Thanks a lot for coming out here. We'll get Tampa Bay. Go ahead.
Thank you, fellas.
There you go. Absolutely. Anytime. Yeah. More than welcome on this broadcast. And that's why you got to get down to Ferg's. It's a happening place right now on Central Avenue. We're doing shows all day long. You think I'm crazy. I'm not. We love it. Yes.
Come down. We also have softball coach, ACC 2019 champion, Lonis Almeida.
I'll tell you what.
Get him in here.
If they want to get in here, and they want to talk about softball and educate me a little bit, I'm all good with it.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you, fellas.
There you go. So, once again, that's why you got to get down here at Ferg's, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Great food. Great service.
There's a party going on right here.
And great fans. Let me just tell you, I know Peter. I know Peter rambles a lot. But I don't think you guys understand the sports atmosphere that's down here. Just all these fans coming out. It doesn't even matter what team you rep.
Sure,
everybody's down here enjoying.
Look,
sports.
you want to be a Hurricane fan? Cool. That's all. That's all right with me. It's
not today though.
You know, it's back in the past. You want to be a Florida fan? Cool. You want to be a UCF fan? Cool. I always say you're welcome on the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. Now on Blake and Sports live on Bucs Report. Join the 62,000 following on Facebook. But I tell you what. Let's get back to our comments here. I want to read some of these comments. A lot of comments. And Ren Dax wants to come down too, by the way.
Oh, Ren's cool. I like it. He likes
Ren Dax, a Pewtercast.
I love Ren.
So everybody hang around here. We had Rep Matthew on. He was doing his thing from 97X and 102.5 The Bone. He was down here. So thanks a lot for gracing our presence here on Blake Sports. So Jimmy says it'll take about 2 years for our defense to start gelled together and be able to play at their full potential.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they take off straight out the gate.
Really?
I think these guys are focused. It doesn't take that much. I think sometimes people think too much into things. If you got people that believe in each other and do what you're asked to do, you can succeed. That is all you need is everybody believing in your system, looking you in the eyes and understanding what you're trying to run. I know we were talking to them about Willie Taggart. I listen to a lot of Willie Taggart. I follow a lot of ACC football because Peter's right. I am a Tar Heel. So what Taggart said.
Aren't you a basketball school?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Hey, but we got two of my favorite players that came out there,
Where'd
Lawrence
Trubisky
Taylor and Julius Peppers.
Right, so very true. One of the all-time greats is Julius
and Michael Jordan.
Okay. Well, that's basketball again. I'm talking about football.
So what Taggart said, kind of like what I just said.
Okay.
You got a year into the system. Now he knows guys are comfortable and they believe in the system and understanding what's going on.
Right.
That is all you need. And it was much like the Philadelphia Eagles when they won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. Nobody predicted that. But everybody believed in each other and understood what you were asked to do.
All you have to do is buy in, like you're saying, buy into the defense. Todd Bowles is a proven commodity. He's done it before. You know, I think people say, well, they could be, if they're, I say average. You just be average, you win more games. Agree?
You can win a Super Bowl at average. I've seen it done several times.
You got Chris Baker at nose tackle, and one of your most outspoken defensive players. That's average. That was 3 years ago. That's where we were.
No, that's terrible.
Well, Baker,
that's horrible.
That's what I mean. You're relying
the
on
biggest
the
play he made was in Hard Knocks on that tree. That tree is scarred for life.
That tree will never be the same. I don't think it'll bear any fruits. But I mean,
you know what? And right there, Gerald was leading as the quiet storm or the good guy, and I don't want to keep. I'm not even going to. as the ambulance goes by or the emergency goes by. But
Somebody
I mean,
coming to get you?
You gotta. Speaking about your defense,
It's live, guys. We're live.
It's live.
you gotta rely on your coach. I mean, as football players, we know this. There's 11 guys on the field, and we all know if there's one guy half-assing it, all 10 of us know it. Now we're still going to try to cover it, but it generally brings the entire overall attitude
All
down.
it takes is one guy to blow his
I don't
coverage.
see that happening on this defense under Todd Bowles.
I'm not gonna say that. People are gonna make mistakes. It's
Mistakes,
just how
yes.
big are you gonna make them? And the worst part is, do you make the same mistakes?
Oh.
Everybody's not going to be 100% 100% of the time. No. It's not going to happen.
No.
People are too good in this league. People find flaws in every system. It's just how many times you gonna make the same mistake.
Mhm.
And when you bring up Chris Baker being average, that Chris Baker wasn't bought into the system. He came here for money,
Right.
and that's exactly what he did. He came here, lived the best life, partying out on boats and all that. And that's why I got upset in our group when I saw Bo Allen doing that. Why the hell are you partying like that and you put up abysmal stats?
Right.
I got a problem with that. I said, we paid you good money to come over here. That's the consistently thing we do here. We overpay these guys and they come here, get paid, live up here in the Florida weather, and live on these boats. But you're not doing that on the field.
Yeah.
And you got to get guys to buy in this system.
That was the 80s. Take it from an old school Bucs fan. That was the 80s. Yeah. That's what it was. I mean, and we, guys would come here because let's not forget. This
you had no free agents, in the 80s. And if you did have a free agent and they would sign a contract, most likely you're exactly right. They would, they would be on their last legs of their career and they wouldn't perform.
It'd be a name that would maybe put some people in a turnstile.
Sure.
But don't forget, with the income tax free state, you sign a $3.2 million deal. If you go to Chicago, it's actually 2.65. You come here, it's 2.9. Plus, you get a place on the beach or on the bay. You keep your wife and family happy at home.
Nice little condo.
And boom, that's right. You're right. And you know what? And again, just to work it back to the Todd Bowles comment, you're always going to have guys that are at certain points in their careers, but you're not going to have guys phoning it in under Todd Bowles.
No.
That's
what I'm saying.
Itself.
It's accountability from the coaches. The coaches are going to provide it. They're going to provide the accountability. It doesn't matter if you're a first-round pick. If you don't play up to snuff, you're going to be benched. And you're not on the bench. What you are right now is in Blake and Blake Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Cabell, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. We had Rhett Matthew before. We also had the Chris.
Rachel and Chris, the president and vice president of the Pinellas County FSU fan club.
Absolutely.
I talked to the softball players. They're going to try to come over, but like I said, they were being inundated with a lot of fans of the fan club. And boy, wouldn't it be great if we can get champions. And we get the softball coach on here. I'm going to try to go over and see if I can get that. I'm sure he's also going to be inundated once he arrives. I'm sorry?
Peter over there?
Peter's not here.
Well, Peter's here, man.
Peter's here. No, Peter Warwick.
Peter Blake is here. Peter Warwick, I'm not sure.
So we don't want
about
him.
Will you shut up and be quiet? All right. We're here live on Blake and Blake Sports. Join the 62,000 following on Facebook. Live here at Ferg's, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether you want to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay Rays, who are on today at 6:10 versus the Chicago White Sox, Chop at the Trop, or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, definitely get down here. And, of course, the fight tonight, Keith One-Time Thurman of Clearwater versus Manny Pacquiao. You better be hanging around.
We'll see. Depends on how many drinks.
Drinks
all right,
on me.
Drinks on
drinks on
Tampa
Ray.
Bay Ray Kennedy is buying you drinks.
I might be staying.
With your cousin over there, we'll definitely stay.
Hey guys,
we got to definitely stay.
Let me ask you before I forget.
Yes.
Rookies report tomorrow.
I can't wait. Football's back,
right? Can you believe it? Guys, it seems like...
Was it 49 or 48 days?
Yep.
Till the regular
season.
It seems like forever. Does
Peter,
the season?
I don't care. Preseason, postseason, exhibition.
Exhibition.
I'm happy, period.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
Football's back.
And Peter, we get to do pre-post game reports, and we get to get in now. We don't have to hang on articles now. There's dry time.
No more Gerald McCoy talk.
Oh, Lord, we did string
Oh,
that
we
out.
just killed that, didn't we? We'll probably kill it during the season.
guys.
It's going to come back, too.
Right.
Because,
The second game of the season.
Yeah.
So
that's a watch party, guys.
Let me ask you, though, with the rookies reporting tomorrow, see, here's the thing, and I was talking to the professor, Johnny Dean. We were going back and forth this week about
Got to
this.
get him on, by the way.
We do. We got to get him.
He's a behind-the-scenes guy.
Can he get
still gotta get him on.
Can he get B-Live on that flip phone he's got? I'm just kidding,
no,
Johnny.
don't
We love you,
hit him
brother.
with the flip phone. No, the
Kidding,
razor.
Johnny.
The razor.
Shots
He's
fired.
got the
The
razor.
razor.
Shots fired to
He's
Johnny
got a
Dean,
razor
the professor.
still. Y'all remember the razor, right?
A razor. Yeah.
Big time race fans here. It's so funny. Everybody says there's no race fans. That's all I see down here. Race
fans and FSU fans. I'm telling you what, FSU fans alone, the Rays are going to triple their attendance for the 2019 season. Go FSU.
There you go. You got
Go
FSU fans
Rays.
right there. I love it. I love this. I love the fan
Shop at the
atmosphere.
Trop.
Well, so my
Shop at
question
the Trop,
was that
yes.
the Advent Health Facility, it's just off of Dale Mabry, and it's not on. And you know what? Maybe half the teams in the league train on a college campus, and then we know Green Bay's tradition of the players riding the bikes over to practice, and that goes throughout the season. But any predictions on any surprise, anybody showing up tomorrow at the? Well, let's just say who shows up in the best car. Hey, brother, Michael.
How you doing? There's Michael Walker right there.
Michael Walker, Ray's biggest
people
fan.
screaming at us in the
And
streets.
we was like, oh,
I didn't
that's
know
the love we get here.
he's got a nice ride.
I know.
Yeah,
Well,
he
speaking
does.
of rides,
I can't fit in it.
who's well without the, with the
Would
yeah, I
you
couldn't.
shut up?
Without Deshaun Jackson here, the Ferrari's out the door. We don't have
Uh.
Antonio Brown, who probably arrived via a helicopter or a space shuttle. Any
I think
Buccaneers
he's
that
on.
arrive on
I
something
think he's
special?
on the UFO.
I got a question. What
There
did, he
from
do,
Area
what did he
51.
do with his Steelers painted car? Remember he had that the
Oh.
Bentley that was Steeler
Yeah,
Black
with
and
the-
yellow?
Yeah, no, he had like a whole emblem on it.
Yeah, and
I don't
so
know.
they have
I wonder if he's
special-
gonna get
Inquiring
that
minds
painted
want to
Raider.
know, Mr. Big Chest. What did you do with your painted car?
Deshaun,
Steelers?
Devin Bush bought it.
Oh, okay.
Wait, is Devin with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yes.
No, you're right.
Yeah, Devin
Yeah.
Bush bought it
They
off.
traded up for him at number 10. All right, let's read some comments here. They're doing shows all day long. We absolutely are for the Thurman fight. And also, we'll do a post show. I know it's going to be late, but stay up with us here live on Bucks Report on the Sports Web. And, of course, Blake and Blake Sports. Blake killing it with the Kangol.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Heather, for tuning in. Nice. We'll have 3 wins at most in 2019,
Wow.
2020. Sorry, Steelers. Really?
What do you mean,
Somebody
sorry?
throwing shade to the Steelers. I think the Steelers are going to be a better team, to tell
Well,
you the
so
truth.
are the Browns, and so will the Bengals.
Well, that's a division that's a bloodbath, a lot like the
Well,
NFC
that's a tough
South.
division.
Right.
I mean, the Browns. I'm not saying nothing until they actually win. If they
You're
win
not
it-
buying the Browns, huh?
So they win 8 games. I'm not saying nothing.
Right.
I done seen this story before in this league. It doesn't work like that all the time. We got big now. Hopefully it works for them, and they changed the culture there in Cleveland. I know they've not recently, within the past 5 years, changed ownership
Sure.
again. So I mean, hopefully it works out for them. But 3 games for the Steelers, I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't see that either. Too much talent. You still got Ben Roethlisberger there. You have J.J. Smith-Schuster, who had over 100 catches last
T.J.
year.
Watt.
Yeah, and you got James Conner at running back. And again, you get rid of that drama aspect, much in the way of the Bucks getting rid of Deshaun Jackson. And to a certain degree, I wouldn't say Quan Alexander, but look, when you're dancing and you're down by 8, not a good deal.
Deshaun Jackson was Quan Alexander's downfall.
Right.
Him and T.J. Ward.
Okay.
2 guys that were selfish, and he took after that. That's why I told you all that time in the offseason, that's who he was hanging around the whole time.
Right.
Those 2 guys trying to live that lifestyle they were living, knowing he didn't get his big contract. So I told you, expect Quan to ask for a big payday come then. He's not bought into this team. He rah-rahed and got fans to follow behind, but at the end of the day, Quan was about Quan Alexander. He
All right.
showed it on the field,
Mhm.
missed tackle, 77, you said?
Yeah.
77?
No, Peter, yeah.
77, subpar performances in low games, not big games he showed up, low games when we played a subpar opponent and didn't really live up to expectations that he basically gave himself.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny though. I
Yeah.
watched this week. I'm watching the NFL Films movie or the update, from last season.
Sure.
But if you're watching it from the 49ers standpoint, of course they're pretty much relying on their quarterback to stay healthy, and then with Nick Bosa again, now the rookie defensive tackle. But I mean, Quan is definitely the triad. He's the three bar to that tripod for the 49ers. I mean, they're
Well, there's a
depending on him every
question,
bit.
Ray, if he's even going to be healthy, guys, because he's coming off that ACL injury.
Well, he's up running. I've seen videos.
Okay.
He's looking good.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
he looks
running.
Well, you'd say, look, you can look good on Instagram. You got to put it on
That's
the field.
right. No,
is
you're
he
right.
gonna be ready for game 1 versus the Bucks?
I hope not.
You can't be looking good on Instagram if you're JPP driving around in a neck brace, though, right?
And that,
I mean,
and,
what's
Get a
that
driver.
even
and that's
about?
my issue. We're walking into football season. He's still in a neck brace, and then you
Yeah.
really
Right.
want to sit here and hold on to him. I mean, you guys feel what I'm saying, right?
Sure.
It's a
And
life
but
you're talking about.
I think it's
$13
tough
million,
because
that number keeps coming up. He's
Right.
getting 13.
right. And he's
Yeah.
getting up there in age,
That's
but
scary.
he's the most consistent the defensive lineman last year. Even though he's injured, he had to take the man at his word. But I wonder if the Bucks are exploring that, and we shall see
They
here.
still have that. They
Yeah.
still have that potential. I mean, again, I'm not trying to curse JPP, but they still have that potential out on the non-football injury, right?
Correct.
Sure.
You get 7 out of it.
Okay.
You get $7 million back.
Between that and the $8 million for Brait, we just opened up $15 million. Let's give Jameis a new contract, and we're number 3 in the league, but as far as cap room,
The only way you move
Yeah,
Braid is if you have a significant backup to replace him. Because if OJ
You're
OJ
right.
Howard's injury prone so far to me until he changes that. you don't have a backup if he goes down. And
Sure.
Brake can't
Move
run
Godwin
block.
in.
He can't pass block. He's he's basically a bigger wide receiver at this point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you get rid of him, then we have no substantial backup
All right,
without him.
Let's read some
No, you're
comments
right.
here, and then we'll get back to it here. Let's see. I came in out of heart to watch. Coming to rookie open practice tomorrow. Can't wait to see them live. That's Jimmy Gazeta. Jimmy, definitely killing it. Thanks a lot for tuning into Blake and Blake Sports, and of course, the Sports Web, your nightly broadcast here on Bucs Report. Join the 62,000 following that we've developed, and of course, the big time Bucs news today. Devin White has signed officially with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And of course, Bucs Report and the Sports Web will be live there July 26th, starting at 4 o'clock. We won't be live doing a show, but we'll be there, hopefully doing a post show on the camp and also on August 6th. So
There'll be articles too on bucksreport.com.
Yes,
So make sure you hit
and
them all.
definitely
What
tune-
got it covered?
Yes.
We got it covered like
Great writer
like,
here.
like Jarrell Revis. We're covered like that.
Oh, okay.
Former
Former Buck. There you go. All right.
Sorry, Blake.
Let's see. Bucks will have 3 wins, and Winston, I think, will be gone. I think he said. Rhett friggin' Matthew, the gallery, 97X. JT Westbury is watching. He does the Bucks Ball podcast.
Nice.
And JT, definitely welcome here on the Sports Web
Yes,
and
you
Blake
are.
and Blake Sports anytime you want. Technically, White has agreed to terms. He will sign the contract officially when he arrives at camp. There you go. Devin White will improve the players around him. Carlos King is tuned in. Allison Kohler. Keith being all technical. Love it. Can we get a round of applause for Blake's hat?
Yeah. We say that.
There you go. There's your round of
How
applause.
about Ray's
All right.
bandana?
You shut up. Think White and we'll help out Vita Vey in the front 3. I definitely think that's what they envision.
I think it's the
with-
other way.
Right. Well, I think Sue and Vey together is a mismatch nightmare. And then once again, all the reports, look, if you have that middle, then it spills outside, then that's when David
put
and
Golston in
especially
there.
White.
Right.
Right. Well, you like to see Golston show up.
Golston's got to show up.
Right.
He's getting paid a lot of money to do nothing.
I know how.
I mean,
that's why
y'all
put him
can't
in
even
your-
argue that.
I know
There's
how
no
you feel
argument.
about that,
I
Blake.
can't
You're right.
say
There's
nothing.
no argument. A lot of money
He's
to
been
do nothing.
disappointing, to say the least.
And the
Ever
sad
since
part,
he got the
Can he
contract.
play tight end?
Will you shut up?
Because he's not playing defensive end. Go
that,
ahead.
that sure is playing end of the bench. I mean,
We got enough
Oh.
tight ends at this point. You got Cameron Braid, who got cleared yesterday, according to Rick Stroud.
then we get Leggett too, right?
Well, you've also got
Jets tight end we picked up. Leggett?
Eclair.
Oh, All-Clair, yeah.
Eclair, yeah, from
All-Clair.
Canada.
He's a good run blocker.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know what he really provides.
But
in
the
pass
2
catching.
main guys there are O.J. Howard and, of
that's-
course, Cameron Braid.
Cameron Braid.
I mean, we are so lucky. Godwin. I mean, the tools we have. Mike Evans, and then we have OJ, and then we're talking about having a Cameron Braid who's just he's going to find a way to get open. And I wrote an article about this last week. Even in losing, oh my gosh, out of our slot position now, Humphreys. And then also, I mean, we definitely and I don't
A lot of Scotty Miller hype.
I think,
And we'll get into our
he's got to
training
make the
camp
team
predictions.
first,
Right.
But Scotty
Well,
Miller, he's our next Adam Humphreys if he
Sure.
makes his team. But it's just a matter of a numbers game at the wide receiver position.
Scotty Miller is really intelligent, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. He will steal time from Brashad Perryman and other receivers because of his ability to create space.
If Miller makes the team, does that mean Bobo's gone?
Bobo plays well. It's just
well, what about Justin Watson?
Justin
Right?
Watson he's a big receiver, 6'3", about 215 pounds, can catch contested passes. Penn has a really good football program. Of course, people don't pay attention to it because it's Ivy League. Penn has a good program. They've actually won a lot of championships and put out decent players. But I just like having depth. Everybody can't play. You can't feed everybody. But with Bruce Arians, you're going to find those matchups. People are going to get in when they need to get in, and they're going to play.
Yeah. All right, let's read some more comments here. Anyone have an idea who's going to play the strong side linebacker? Because now it's a 3-4 look.
Yeah, the word is, and I'm very familiar with playing 3-4 because that's what I played when it was in developmental league, and it was a three strong side inside, and it's a weak side inside.
Okay.
So if I had to guess, you could play either or. David's fast enough to cover a tight end, so is White. It could go either or. It depends on what your matchups are that week.
Okay.
And I think that's what really we were missing all these years with getting BA and Bowles is creating. Oh, there he is. Matchups, creating good matchups on defense to help out our defense.
And that's why I like and I think the point you make is that even moving White and David moving them in weak side, strong side is going to also depend on who you got applying the pressure on that play. But therein lies the chess game of the defense is that Todd Bowles, he might move White into a position where you figure he's the coverage on the play, but it ends up being the pressure on the quarterback. So, I mean, therein lies. That's why I be honest with you guys, I've hated the 3-4. Because I grew up with 4-3, even though the Bucs were 3-4 back in the day. But we had Warren Sapp, Simeon Rice, and then we had Derek Brooks. Right. But now that you start really putting all the pieces together and the potential of the defensive players we have, you start realizing that it's limitless the amount of opportunities we have to apply that chess mentality.
All right, let's read some more comments here live on Bucs Report, live here at Ferg's 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether you want to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay Rays, who are playing the Chicago White Sox at 6:10. Hopefully they can stop that losing streak of 4 in a row as they got waxed last night by the Chicago White Sox, 9-2. They play at 6:10. Chop at the Trop, or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Definitely get down here live on Blake and Blake Sports. And, of course, the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Cabell, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, as people are filing in here. So we'll get some more fans on. Just seen Mike Walker. Let's see, living a Bucs life. That's what Jimmy Gazeta is saying. To be determined in camp, I would say. That's what Johnny Dean, the professor, has said. I mean, I know who's going to play the middle and White and David, but who's going to play both outside linebackers? We assume that it could be Carl Nassib, Shaq Barrett. They're gonna definitely. It's going to be determined in camp.
It's going to be Nelson's going to take that other spot.
Okay.
Anthony Nelson's going to take that spot.
Okay.
Unless William Golston, the Ghost, beats him. I don't see that happening.
Okay.
Because Nelson does have a lot of potential. I know you and the Juice was talking about that. Josh, we're talking about Anthony Nelson.
Amorji, right?
Yep. He provides a good first step on that edge, and he has the side to uphold himself in run game. But if we're talking about outside, Nassib will play that spot. He's been asked to do that in Cleveland. So he's familiar with that, and he can also play down at that end position as well. So you kind of get some versatility at that spot, playing both of those. And don't forget the guys that we got coming out of camp as well. So hopefully some of those guys can provide some quality depth coming off the edge as well, because we did pick up some guys that are familiar with staying rushing as well.
All right, good stuff there from Blake Cabell here, Blake and Blake Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, live at Ferg's. We'll be here tonight for the Keith One-Time Thurman fight. Clearwater Zone versus Manny Pacquiao, which we talked about earlier on with Marquise Johns of Weak Sauce Radio and Big Fight Night Weekend, who does a podcast with TJ Reeves.
Yep.
Buccaneer sideline guy, good friend of the show, I would assume.
So
good
Blake,
friend.
what do you think about the octagon, like MMA type fighting versus boxing?
I've never gotten into it. I mean, I've tried to buy it, but I've never got into it. I watched it because of Brock Lesnar, and I was disappointed. I was very disappointed.
If you're asking me, I got a big boxing family. Boxing lost a step coming out of that era. I mean, you're coming in the 80s and 90s and possibly low 2000s, where a lot of these guys are retiring and moving on, et cetera, and you were missing that big heavyweight for years. That's why Floyd Mayweather era came on, lightweight champions and all that stuff. But boxing really always had that heavyweight that everybody knew about, wanted to watch that fight. We were missing that for years.
And look what we got now.
Yeah. You got Deontay Wilder now.
Yeah, definitely.
So the octagon UFC fighting came into play now because you could get knocked out in 5 seconds. You could get knocked out in 2 rounds. It could happen at any second, and it was more impact fighting, in which a lot of people got into that style of fighting. They started finding fans, and they really took off with promoting and all that, and even picking up wrestlers, retired fighters,
retired football players.
Yeah, you're talking about your boy out of Carolina. I won't even mention
not
his
my
name.
boy.
It's
That's your boy.
Not even worth mentioning.
Nope.
So they took advantage.
Yeah.
And so and it is pretty interesting. I know you're not really into it, and it really takes something to get used to if you really want to get into it. But I'm glad the boxing's starting to take a little turn back. Right. You got Anthony Joshua. He lost to the Mexican fighter. I can't remember the name slipping me right now. I
can't either.
Yeah, and then you got Deontay Wilder now.
Yep.
And so boxing's starting to swing back.
Fury.
Yeah. Fury. He coming back.
Not Nick
Fury.
You had to get that in there, didn't you, Pete?
I had to. You got Michael Walker in the background. We'll get him on, see what's going on with him. Big time Rays fan. In fact, you know what? Come on here really quick if
Michael.
you want. Yeah, come on.
Well, I get to take that car of yours for a spin around the block.
he's going to come on here and give his intro like he always does here. Does his own sports talk show himself, and also big time Rays fan, live on Blake and Blake Sports. Come on now, you got to come on here really quick. All right, let's read some comments, and then we'll go from there. Let's see. I believe is he going to play strong side or the weak side? I believe JPP will retire. It's about that time. I think this was the ink on the paper when he got hurt. It really depends on how these rookies look and where they decide to put Spence. Noah Spence, a forgotten man, and also, once again, Shaq Barrett, who a lot of things that are expected out of Barrett because he's never gotten a chance to start, has a lot of potential. But, of course, blocked by Von Miller and, of course, Bradley Chubb. And we got Mike Walker on. How you doing, buddy?
There, buddy.
Welcome. Get into that mic there.
Right.
And
Mike on mic.
And go ahead and give your intro like you always do here.
As I've been doing this for years, and all the boys at 3 Score Softball. Good morning, Tampa Bay!
And it is good afternoon to you, Mr. Mike Walker. So I got a question. Rays lose last night in a 4-game losing streak. Chop at the trop, maybe bring some good luck. Right now, Ray's going to put it together or what?
That game was brutal.
And you went to it, right?
I fell asleep in the 8th inning. I'm no kidding. I fell asleep.
They should have put you in the pitch, Mike.
I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, Brandon McKay last night, 5 runs, sent down today. It looks like Ryan Stanek is on the not disabled list, the injury list.
Really?
So, yes, that was from Corey Brown. So we'll check that information. But right now, the Rays are struggling. And, the thing that you worry about, and I know you've been a Rays fan for a long time. If they get to a certain point, do you think they become sellers instead of buyers?
Well, you know what? Someone brought that up because you guys know I'm from Detroit.
Sure.
And Detroit's a seller. They were a seller, I think.
What are they selling?
In April.
They ain't selling water, that's for
Sorry,
sure.
Tigers. Sorry,
Shut
Tigers.
up.
But anyway, no, it's going to be interesting because with the Boston series coming up, you can't worry about Boston. You got to worry about 2 more games here. And this is going to be a character game, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a very character. I hope they got enough sleep.
Oh yeah, well then look, they faced it. You played a doubleheader. You don't get in until 7 a.m. So is that definitely? It's not an excuse. I definitely think it's a reason. But the White Sox are not a good team at all. In fact, they're probably a couple years away from really being in contention. So hopefully, with this home crowd, this big event going on, the Rays can take 2 out of 3 here and kind of. You got the Red Sox, you've got Oakland right on their heels for that wild card spot. So you have to continue to win series. And we talk about it, it's like meatloaf. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Well, here's the thing, too. My hero, because the only home run ball I caught all year was Austin Meadows on May 10th when they played the Yankees. What he did yesterday, I don't know if he was still on the jet plane. I mean, the one that went over his head, the one he misjudged along the right field line, but I think that Brasno threw him off. But it doesn't matter. Everything went wrong.
Yeah.
It was Murphy's Law. It was
definitely. So after the race season, you're going to be joining us for Buccaneer watch parties.
Oh, yeah, and also Lightning.
Lightning. Oh, there you can't forget about the Tampa Bay Lightning, right there, Blake? Big-time hockey fan?
Oh, of course. I was born in Alaska.
All right, well, you're born in Alaska. I didn't know that.
Really?
He's learned something new about you every day there, Blake.
Football was actually my last sport. It was baseball, hockey, and then football.
All right, there you go. So good stuff, Mike Walker. Thanks a lot for joining us here on Blake and Blake Sports. Anytime, you're welcome. And we'll be here every Saturday, all right?
Yeah, I was listening on your thing last night, man.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Good job.
Appreciate it. There you go. Oh, you got to sit down and tell them what you were on really quick. Of course, you got to tell them, get back in that mic there. And you got to tell them, because we have every fan say this, you've been on Blake and Blake Sports live here on Bucs Report.
I can't remember all that.
Just say you've been live on Bucs Report.
I'm live on Bucs Report.
There you go. Mr. Mike Walker there. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Let's get some more comments here live on Blake and Blake Sports. We'll wrap it up. We'll wait for Ren Dax. And again, we'll be doing shows here all day long, talking football, talking all the sports you want to talk about here live on Bucs Report. Join the 62,000 following here. Let's read some more comments. I got high expectations for Shaq Barrett. I just have high expectations for the defense as a whole. That's what Vernon says. Ferg should open up a club next to Ray J. That would be very cool. Let's see. Ditto. It already is. And Robert Hung has tuned in. I missed some comments there, so sorry, guys. Write them over again. We'll read them as Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy will probably be coming back. But let's talk about this. Do you think the Bucs are being given enough respect in the national media? Because I see 4-12 predictions, 6-10. You had Cowherd saying that Winston is going to be 8 games to a year. I mean, do you think this team overall is being given enough respect?
No, we never have since around that era, and then we didn't get respect when we won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about this area that a lot of people don't respect, and that's probably kind of why I started liking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back when I was young. It was it was a team that nobody really liked, and nobody can really say I bandwagoned on this team until they got success, and then we kind of fell apart. And we're trying to rebuild and get that back.
Right.
But to answer your question, no, but we haven't helped that either. They have the ability to do that. Would you get a legitimate coach? You actually have a plan involved now. If BA wants to retire, you got guys that you can bring up in the ranks and actually have an established business plan. If BA wants to move on because of his age or health or whatever happens, and Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich, you're starting to build that. And that's pretty the core thing that you want to do with a successful franchise. You got to have a business plan when something happens or something like that and keep that going for years on end. Teams that have success have that. They have consistent coaching, GMs, and an established office, and you have assistant head coaches and quarterbacks, and that produces winning seasons in this league. Regardless of how you feel about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the players, all that, what is the one thing they always do? They win. That's right.
Well, come on. Hey, come on. We get fans back. Come on. Come on, we like you guys. Come on. We're live here on Blake and Blake Sports on Bucs Report. Come on. Oh, you gotta come back here on the mic. We got fans right here. Come on.
Oh, they all shy.
All right, they're. I think they're shy, but they're actually going to. Come on, get back in here. All right, you guys were screaming about Tampa. We're here live on Blake and Blake Sports on Bucs Report.
There we go.
Join the 62,000 following on Facebook Live here from Ferg's 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Get on that mic there. What's your name, sir?
Hey, Miguel Lugo. What's your name, man?
Miguel Lugo. I'm Peter Blake. How you doing? Nice to meet you. All right, so you're a Tampa Bay Rays fan. I'm assuming you're going to Chop at the Trop tonight, right?
Right across the street.
All right, you gotta talk. Well, you guys gotta talk in that mic there. Get into that mic.
Disregard my buddy.
Okay.
I'm wearing a Mets hat just because it matches my shirt.
Exactly.
So, I'm a Michigan fan. See?
Okay. All right. So you're a Tampa Bay Rays fan here. You know we're on Bucs Report. We got a 62,000 following. Are you guys Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans?
Tampa!
Hey, come on the camera. Hoop it up.
Tampa!
Hoop it up. All right. So you know that we have watch parties here coming for the road games. That we're the only platform that has it. There's no other platform. So let me ask you something. If we could give you Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans an opportunity to get on the mic, get in front of the camera on the evolution of sports talk television weekly when you can't get tickets, but we can give you an opportunity to be on the show for road games, you guys would come out, right?
100%.
All right, I got to get all the look. Get all the people back here on the camera. That's what I want. I love the fan response. Welcome right here to Blake and Blake Sports live
Come on this way.
on Bucs Report. As you have a contingent of Ray fans and Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans here. Real quick, give it to me. Tampa. All right, so let me ask you again. If we have a road game watch party here live at Ferg's, you guys would come out, get on the camera, and support the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, correct? We can't give you free tickets, but we can give you an opportunity to be on there.
Listen, if
Who
you guys
knows?
have a watch party, we're down.
Okay.
We'll be here.
All right, so do me. All right,
There
so
you go.
guys, as a contingent group here, Bruce Arians coming on, being the coach. Tell me a record. How many wins this year did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have in 2019?
8-8.
I hear 8-8. I hear 11. Who else?
10.
10. I go 10 too. 10 and 6.
10.
10. All right. So 8 and 8.
Yep. 500. 10.
10. All right. 10, 8 and 8. Kind of.
Find us on Facebook. 10. I'll
10.
bet you
All right.
10.
Find us on Facebook at
We're going undefeated.
Bucs Report. Bucs Report. Go like us. We got a 62,000 following on Facebook on the sports web here. And tell them right there, look into that camera, all you Buccaneer fans, and tell them you've been live on Blake and Blake Sports on Bucs Report.
Live on Blake and Blake.
On Bucs Report.
10 wins this season.
All right,
like
there you
it.
go,
I
guys.
like it.
Thanks a lot. Hoop and holler. Welcome to Bucks Report. There you go. Love it here live at Ferg's.
Can't get anywhere else.
It can't. 1320
Can't
Central
get anywhere
Avenue
else. Yep.
in St. Pete. I love it. I hope everybody heard that. Guys, you got fans out here. You got Tampa Bay Ray fans out here. You got Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans out here. You got Florida State
makes it
Seminole
so much
booster.
That right there. I mean, just being out here and
Sure.
we're celebrating, and the fact that we're here for sport, what we love. But then you get a group like that, like everyone else out here today, and it's just like, dude, home run out of the ballpark, boom, done.
Yeah. And I don't mind leading that cheer. I mean, again, I'm going to be unbiased when I talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but let's not make any mistake about it. This is Blake and Blake Sports and the
No
Sports
doubt.
Web. People are riding by with their bikes. I'm still looking. Please don't knock my camera over.
I'm looking
As
too.
we're just out in the middle of the street. But let's read. Would you not do that? Look at this guy right here having broad shoulders, trying to flex a little bit. Okay. Let's read some more comments here, and then I think we'll get off for a little bit. Would you stop flexing over there? And we'll get back on with Ren Dax. Tampa Bay has always been known for defense, says Vernon, not offense. In the last few years, the defense ain't been nothing to put on the field. It hasn't been nothing.
I think
but
I
he
talked
said,
about that before.
Right.
I think Lovey started that.
Yeah.
Lovey started that offensive drive, drafting offensive players for 2 years in a row.
Because that would be exactly what you'd not expect of Lovie Smith.
Yep.
And then we go and we keep Cotter. I think
Cotter.
it's still
Cotter.
Welcome back, Cotter. I think we saw, they retained Cotter just because they heard a rumor that the 3 NFL teams want to sign him.
Eagles.
Imagine Lovey stays here now 3 years later. Now, I'm always about everything happens for a reason.
They don't
but
turn it around.
They
You
never
don't think
had to.
so?
The defense would have continued to get better if we
I
had
don't
half
think
an
so.
offense.
I really don't, because Lovey was calling the plays, and when a coach decides to take over, because look, when Frazier was here, the defense was getting better. Then he basically told him, I'm going to call my own plays. That's when the defense suffered. And it's 8-24. You can't keep a coach that's 8-24.
I mean,
that's a hard assessment to say that about a trash
They
team
were
that you
trending
took
up.
over.
Well,
you can't put that kind of expectation
to
on
give
somebody
credit to
not have
Cutter,
a-
they were 9-7 the next year.
What the funny part was, Lovey said you weren't going to start winning to the third year, and and we went 9-7 the third year. Exactly
Fair enough.
what he said will happen.
Okay.
And then you fire him. You never gave the man to finish his plan. And then you try to give all the credit to Cutter, and look how that turned out.
Although we did see that
Bottoms
picture,
up.
That picture you posted this week. Lovey's doing okay. He looks like he's doing okay.
It looks like old man Winter.
Took over a failing program in
Failing.
Illinois that people forgot even had a football team.
Florida State fans
And
more.
made-
Throw
and
it
made
up.
him- and put him back on.
Throw
the
it
map.
up.
They're winning. They're getting recruits. It takes a lot in college football.
You
It's
telling
not
me the
pros.
Fighting Illini are coming
you
back
got to get people who
strong?
wants to come to that school. Which Derek Brooks' son went there. I believe Simeon Rice's
Hardy
son.
Nickerson's
Hardy's
son went there. Right.
And you got Simeon Rice's son slated to go there.
Wow, there's a correlation with a lot of our defensive Hall of Fame and great players wanting to go play under a guy like Lovie Smith as a head coach.
So I think it's just a fair assessment when people want to trash Lovey after having nothing, but you don't put that same expectation on Dirk Cutter on having a much better team 3 years later.
Yeah, and you keep Mike Smith as defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
there's
really,
your biggest reason.
That's horrible.
But I think everybody's looking forward to football at this point.
Yeah.
Let's read some more comments
Rookies
here.
report tomorrow.
Yes, we will have all your Bucks coverage here. Go to bucksreport.com for all the great podcasts. Cannon Fire Podcast, or Rhett Matthew, who graced us with his presence from 97X 102.5 to Bone. Ren Dax is supposed to be coming down here. Ren Dax is here.
Ren, come on up here.
Let's get Ren Dax on here really quick.
Ren Dax is
And
always
again,
ready to party.
the breaking news of the day, it seems like a lifetime ago because we've been talking about it. Devin White officially signs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Ren Dax from Pewtercast. Welcome to Blake and Blake Sports, the Sports Web, here live at Ferg's 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Cabell, Ren Dax of Pewtercast. They get him signed finally. It's a good thing. And then Rank comes out with an article saying potentially he's a Pro Bowler for a long time because not only he solidifies that middle, but also he brings that aggressive nature that this Bucs team needs and also the leadership that this team has needed for a long time. You agree with that?
Yeah, he's a top 5 draft pick at a linebacker position. You don't take a linebacker in the top 5 if he's not projected to be a Pro Bowler.
Sure.
I think anyone that's drafted in the top 10 should eventually in their career become a Pro Bowler and a multi-time Pro Bowler.
Right.
I mean, that's sort of the formula that fans like to follow, and I agree with it.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. And, you know, you had some Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans. One guy was in orange. I think it was Mets orange, but he was representing the Bucs. Rays fans here. Florida State Booster Club. I mean, it's a great atmosphere here. So let's get into these questions.
Sure.
5 questions, things that you're looking forward to in training camp. What's one training camp prediction that you think you're going to see coming out here when it starts on Friday?
Things I'm looking at or predictions?
Yeah, things you're looking at and predictions.
Okay.
Give me a bold prediction. Give me a couple bold predictions, Rendax, because I know you're a student in the game. Great podcast. By the way, promote your podcast there really quick.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I co-host the Pewtercast. It's a fan-driven podcast. We're across all the platforms. If you have a platform downloaded on your phone, you can find us there.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting our 4th season now. And
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. We're getting ramped up. I'll be out at training camp every day is open to the public. And, congratulations to you guys for getting some credentials for a couple of days.
Thank you very much. July 26th and also August 6th will be down there. And, again, the goal for me and the goal for Bucs Report, and this is real. This is a real thing. This is not, something that's made up. You have Bucs fans here, but you also have sports fans that want to provide different content that don't necessarily agree with radio stations and TV stations, how they cover this team, how they cover the NFL. So what we're trying to do is get those season credentials so we can be in the press box and give the fans a voice where they can speak, where they can get on and talk face to face. Go ahead.
Yeah. 100% agree with you on that. Hopefully we'll be getting ours soon. We put in our dates. We'll see how many we get. But as far as training camp, I'll start with the bold predictions. We just did a show last night because we were itching to pod. During the year, we go 4 times a week. And I'll be doing one basically every day during training camp, a short podcast. But we just wanted to get on the mic, so we were like, let's do some predictions, bold takes. The first one that I went with was that I think the Bucs running back core will get 2,200 total yards.
Wow.
Which is 1,000 more than they got last year.
So Ronald, you're buying the Ronald Jones thing, of course. That's another story this week. He bulks up to 221. He seems like he's getting bigger.
A lot of weight to run with.
A lot of weight, but I tell you right now, you see him on film when he was at USC and gets out into space. That's exactly what this Bucs team wants to create. So you're buying this whole, as somebody's walking through the shot right now, they don't know, but that's okay. You have Ronald Jones with the speed. You also have Peyton Barber. So you buy this offensive line is going to be improved with better coaching, and the running backs will take hold, right?
I'm buying into Peyton Barber.
Okay.
I think Peyton Barber has a top 10-esque fantasy football type of season, somewhere between 12 and 8, falling there. So 10's about it for me. I'm thinking he gets about 1,600 total yards. I think he gets 1,200 on the ground, about 400 passing, and then that's only an extra. What is it? It's only an extra 600 yards. It has to come from Ronald Jones.
Right? 800.
Excuse
he finished
me?
with 800, didn't he? Peyton Barber finished with 800 on the
Little,
season.
between 8 and 9, like 8.5, 841, something like that.
Something like that.
And that's good behind that line.
With Caleb Benenoch starting in, and this has been
God.
my main point of contention, the offensive line will be improved without Caleb Benenoch, whether it's Watford or Kappa, and I think they envision Kappa eventually taking over. My bold prediction is that I think, again, the offensive line will be better with better coaching, and whoever starts at the right guard position is going to be an improvement over Caleb Benenoch. I'm sorry, maybe that's not bold, but that's my prediction.
Yeah, well, it can't get any worse than it was last year.
Right.
There are some rumors that Kappa's still not where he needs to be, which is a little worrying. We have Watford that Arians has coached in the past, but he's been on 5 teams in the past 2 years. So, it's no secret that the NFL is sort of has a depletion of solid starting offensive linemen. So someone who can't stick around on 5 teams in 2 years, I don't have a lot of confidence in.
Sure.
But I do agree with you. Whatever they do come up with, like the starting guard might not even be on the team right now.
Yeah,
that's true.
And I do agree with you. Like, it just can't get any worse. So the line will be better. And I'm all in with Bruce Arians on his assessment of Barber, because during camp, OTAs, preseason, anytime Bruce Arians would talk, he would talk about Barber unprompted and talk about how much he was excited to get him there. So with an Arians offense, which you look, it's sort of close to a Mike Martz offense, using the running back so often.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see Mike Martz when it was the Greatest Show on Turf with Marshall Faulk. It'd be a 8-play drive, but Marshall Faulk would touch the ball 5 times. He'd run 3 and catch 2 passes. Then Mike Martz goes to Chicago and turns Fournette into this fantasy stud. And then he leaves, and people kept drafting him, but he wasn't the same without Mike Martz. So if you kind of take what Arians did with Johnson in Arizona and feeding him the ball and the pass and the run, it's almost, for me at least, it's almost a given that Barber's going to get 1,200 all total purpose yards.
Don't forget Ellington as well.
Yeah,
and Ellington was on that roster as well.
Yep, Ellington was on there, and what
Yeah.
according to the Juice Man on Thursday night, Josh Amorgi, he believes that Bruce Anderson is going to make this roster.
You can see that every running back makes this roster in one shape or form because there's only 5 of them.
Keep all 5 running backs?
Well, a couple on the practice squad, maybe 1 on the practice squad, maybe 2 on the practice squad. But
Okay.
as far as
Good point.
being a Buccaneer, all 5 could make the roster.
That's accurate. Yeah.
All right, let's read some more comments here, and then we'll get back to Ren Dax here. Of course, Blake Cabell, Blake and Blake Sports.
I'm going to piggyback on what Ren
Yeah,
said.
go ahead.
He's right. I said Peyton Barber reminds me a lot of Ernest Graham, a utility back. Ernest Graham could run the ball and was great at pass catching as well and blocking. Ernest Graham could really do a lot for this team. And I think and I said with having a good coach like Bruce Arians is going to make an average player like Peyton Barber into a good player under his system, because you're going to find ways to get him into space. You're going to find ways for him to succeed. And honestly, it doesn't take that much.
Right.
Just good game planning. So if you get your backs catching passes out of the backfield, what does that mean? That means the linebacker's got to move out of coverage to come down and cover him down in the flats and down in the middle area, and opens up the slot for catches in those seam areas, or receivers coming on slants, drags, posts, etc. for passes coming across the middle. It helps everybody.
Sure. Absolutely. In the big-time news today, Devin White officially signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No terms released at this point. Let's talk about the safety position, because I think a lot of people have talked about that. With Justin Evans, his injury, you kind of hit on it. Mike Edwards, I think that would be another prediction where he may have an opportunity to start eventually. He could start from day one. It could be Justin Evans and Mike Edwards instead of Whitehead.
I think that's sort of what everyone's betting on right now. I did come out and say a few weeks ago that, I listen to a lot of Bucs podcasts. I'm a podcast. I watch you guys almost nightly.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, it's Bucs content. I'm there, and you guys work really hard, and I want to support that, and I love the conversations you have.
Absolutely.
But everyone, it felt like in sort of this podcasting YouTube world was saying, Mike Edwards is good. Well, none of us have seen him yet.
Right.
But, we
assume
hear good things about him.
You hear things.
The good short shirts.
Right. You had to take it there, didn't you?
It's just basically what he's saying. You haven't hit anybody.
Right. But, he's played in the SEC in Kentucky. Lonnie Johnson, Josh Allen. So, that's top of the line college football. Of course, the transition process is always the thing you have to watch in the NFL.
Yes, agreed. But the things that we are hearing about Mike Edwards makes it the safety position the thing to watch, because it probably is the most wide open position, because Justin Evans has been hurt since about week 10 last year. I know it's been 2 different injuries, but he didn't participate in any OTAs, didn't participate in any minicamps. Bruce Arians actually said at one time that he's really excited just to see Justin Evans out on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, do I think Justin Evans can beat out Whitehead? Yeah, I do. Do I think Justin Evans can beat out Edwards? I don't think he has to.
Yeah.
Sort of the joker, and I say that on purpose, in this rotation is Dawan Buchanan. Like, where is that guy going to play? On the roster officially on the website, he's linebacker / safety. He plays the money backer. Okay. Well, you're not taking Devin White off the field, in pass coverage situations. You're not taking Devontae Bond off the field in pass coverage situations. So is Buchanan going to play nickel, or is he going to replace one of those 2 safeties against certain teams in certain packages? So that's another thing to look at, the safety.
Well, you
position.
always hear what you've talked about, and we've talked about it here on the Sports Web and Blake Sports. There could be 3 safeties at the same time in
Right.
some of those sub packages.
Right. But if you're not,
which is kind of crazy because so many Bucs fans are used to 2 safety alignment, 4-3 defense, Tampa 2.
Right.
This is a whole new world, but you look at how Arizona ran it. You've talked about this on your film sessions. Also, the Steelers running some sort of 3-4. Some people even say 2-5 or
2-4-5.
2-4-5.
2-4-5 is the 2 interior linemen. The ends.
A lot
are
of
out
numbers
wide.
there, by the way.
Yeah, 2-4-5. Yep. And you're right. It's a possibility that all the safeties could play. I've seen teams do it. You guys probably remember it. When people played Lamar Jackson, what did they start doing? Safeties were playing linebacker to go off of that option offense that would have enough speed. I don't think we would really have that problem with us because our linebackers are fast enough. I'm talking about Levante David and Devin White. They're fast enough to catch mobile quarterbacks. But that's still good to have depth to throw them in there if they have 2 faster backs or they run multiple back sets or quick guys underneath. You can line extra safeties up. A guy like Edwards could play run support and pass coverage. It's going to be a multiple. That's good to have depth. It's great to have depth. Now you have options.
Yes.
What Edwards and Buchanan bring to us, the Buccaneers defense, is versatility. Edwards is good enough to come down in the slot and cover some guys.
Right.
Some tight ends, some slot receivers, not the elite.
Right.
And neither is Buchanan. But you'll have that versatility for teams that they match up well against, and you can see a lot of. You will see. I will say it. You are going to see some 3 safety looks that continue through a whole game. Will be the base defense because that's the way the defense matches up best against whoever we're playing that day.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you're listening to right now and watching is Blake and Blake Sports live here at Ferg's, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell, Mr. Rendax of Pewtercast. Colin Cowherd makes comments about Jameis Winston. I can't wait for you to grow up. He's putting him in the same breath as Johnny Manziel. Even goes and says 8 games to a year.
Right.
That's unfair, right?
This is one of the reasons I started doing podcasts, so I could get in touch with fans that were in the know, that were Bucs-centric. When you start to the more you get into the Buccaneers, the more you know. And the more you know, the more you realize that these talking heads and pundits on these national chains, they don't have time to dive into every team.
Sure.
Now, if you're on the outside looking in, yes, he's right. Jameis Winston, his college record, the things happened to him in college, and then the Uber driver, and then his turnovers. And, a lot of people don't buy this rah-rah stuff that he does, and that's just who he is. But a lot of people don't buy it at first.
Right.
You have to be around him a while to see that, okay, this is just how he is, because it does seem a little fake at first. So I understand his logic, but if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan and you follow the Buccaneers, if you listen to podcasts, if you watch, Blake and Blake, then you know that it's wrong, and he's just talking.
Yeah.
He's just talking.
Yeah, he's just talking to me, and I asked Blake this. I've asked, Al Keck this, who we have usually on Tuesday night, who's been great, Leo Haggerty, and you'll have those guys for the watch parties, and hopefully have you out here for some watch parties when we go out on the road.
That's the
when
plan.
the Bucs go out on the road. This team, to me, doesn't get enough respect, and I get it. They've had 2 straight 5-11 seasons, but you have a new coaching staff on both ends with the defense and Todd Bowles, Bruce Arians' offensive mind, even Byron Leftwich, new guy. The offense has weapons. I don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get enough respect from the national pundits. Is that fair? 6-10, 4-12, 4-12. I get it. You have a tough schedule, but it's not like this team is talentless or something,
Again, I agree with you, but I think when I was driving up here, I heard Blake talk about it. We haven't earned it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have less than 10 seasons where we've had a winning record, and we've been around 40 years.
Sure.
So when you go through the schedule, somebody's got to lose.
Yeah.
And so I get it. Now, do I think we're underrated? Yes, I do. I've said many times since the hiring of Bruce Arians, we're going to find out real quick if it's the coaches or the players. I think it was the coaches.
Sure.
God, yes.
Bruce Arians as a head coach has never had a losing season. He went 8-8 once. Every other time it was a winning season. I think 8-8 is the floor, and I think 11-5 is the ceiling.
Wow.
That's and I just think because how terrible, terrible. Like, it wasn't even an NFL defense. Like, you could not call our defense last year an NFL caliber
You're
defense.
calling like the same formations, the same plays, and you mentioned this.
There was times that the offensive line will walk up to the line of scrimmage and tell the defense what they're running. They would tell the defense what they're running, and the players would be utterly embarrassed. Robert Ayers even mentioned it. He said, "You're going to kick me off."
By the way, retired the other day, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of Bucs fans think he retired when he got here.
Yeah, he was done when he got here. Again, where I said you paying guys to come here to vacation because they don't perform here. They can say all they want. Bo Allen's partying right now. He put up lackluster stats. I already talked about that. But you had Ayers say you ran 3 coverages the whole season.
Yeah.
So just like Ren said, you couldn't even call that a NFL defense. You're giving up 29 points a game?
Yeah,
29 points.
You score 28, you still lose.
So if
it
you
doesn't
look-
matter.
Yeah, I used to say last year, about halfway through the season, I'm like, it's a race to 40.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter what quarter it is. It doesn't matter what down and distance is. The Buccaneers need to score 40 points and then look up at triple zeros, and you have a chance going 8-8.
Right, and you
that's how
can't
bad it
win
was.
that way. You can't win that way in the
can't win.
NFL. You got to have defense. You got to have balance to your offense. And what you're watching right now is Blake and Blake Sports live here from Berg's, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether you want to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay Rays, or, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, official home of Bucs Report. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell, Ren Dax of Pewtercast, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy in the background. Lots of guests today. We're going to be here all night long, of course, getting you ready for the Manny Pacquiao-Keith one-time Thurman fight from Clearwater. So we'll have a show on that. Boxing fan?
No.
Think that's all me on that one.
You're looking forward to this fight, though, right? I mean, it's good for boxing. A
Manny
local-
the Pac-Man Pacquiao.
I'm such not a. I was a boxing fan when I was growing up.
Right.
Sort of my teenage years because it was on ESPN all the time.
Sure.
Friday Night Fight.
And
Remember
ABC.
remember what I just told you? Peter,
And
about-
USA.
Remember
Yeah,
I told
know.
you about how
I-
it was promoted.
You hit some point
everybody,
sometime,
Everybody
Blake.
wanted that heavyweight. Everybody was into it,
Yeah,
following it.
you got to watch. You got to watch it on ESPN and USA and the USA Network. But now, like, the only time I really hear about boxing and hits my radar is a fight like this. And to be honest, it's sort of like the NBA now for me, where in the draft, like, I don't know who these people are. Like, I know Zion Williams, I know who he is, but I don't know who any of these other top 10 guys are.
Yeah.
And it's with boxing, like, they come out, okay, there's a local connection. Yes, I want to watch it, but I don't know who he is. I don't know his record. I don't even know if he's a right or left-hander. Like, I don't know what his best punch. I don't know nothing about it because as far as boxing goes, getting in front of the casual fan, it's not until you have to pay $60 to see it.
Well, I mean, and we had Marquise Johns of Weak Sauce Radio and Big Fight Weekend, along with doing a podcast with TJ Reeves, Buck sideline guy.
Yeah, he loves boxing.
He loves boxing, and they do a hell of a job. That's why we had him on today. He was saying he paid $75 for a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
$75 for a boxing match? There's no guarantee it's going to last that long. I mean, come on. You come down here at Ferguson and watch it.
For free.
There you go. All right. Let's go ahead and go around here. Let's read some comments here. Thanks a lot, Ren Dax, for coming on. Stay here for a minute. Let's read some of these comments and see what we got.
Yeah,
Don't want to
Ren.
neglect you Bucs fans out there, NFL fans. So let's see. I see a Wolverine hat. Love the color scheme Miguel is wearing. Creamsicle. That's what Johnny Dean, the professor. Somebody says Mets for life.
Oh, Lord.
Johnny Dean says, hey, Tampa Bay. It seems like the Bucs play better ball when no one respects them. Okay,
I'm fine
I'll
with
buy that. Blake is right. Johnny says Peter is right, though. Lovey should have never mismanaged it. Somebody says Ren Dax. Ray Kennedy is getting a workout today. That's why the man is here.
And
Swagler, Philip Swagler is tuned in, I think, still. More shows are coming up. We'll probably end this show in a little bit because we're kind of burning it up. I want to get something to drink, maybe something to eat, and then we'll come back and give you another edition of the Sports Web and Blake Sports. Philip Swagler says, watching in between prepping for dinner and wine tasting. Aren't you fancy? Let's see, you
As
deserve
he
it.
holds the cup.
That's it. What is he doing? You're smelling it? You're doing the smelling thing? Put that on Bucks Report. And still, Philip Swagler, you're a chef. Where's the food at? Look, we got great food here at Ferg's, but I'm still waiting for all this food that you talk about making all the time that you post on Facebook and Instagram now. Now, come on. Ian says you deserve a full camp credential, not just 2 days. Thank you very much, Ian. We appreciate it.
Got to earn our stripes. That's
takes
fine.
time.
Yes, that's
Takes
it.
time.
It takes time. Let's
time.
see. Somebody said no way to the Mets for life, I believe. Rojo will be minimum split time with the ball, and Barber won't get more than 600 rushing yards. Not a big-time Barber
Who
fan.
said that?
That was Jimmy.
800.
Jimmy Gonzalez, pretty big-time Bucs fan, comes strong. I don't know if I agree with that, Jimmy, but maybe he's thinking.
I'll take that bet, Jimmy.
Okay.
Oh,
shots fired.
Who said that?
Yeah.
Jimmy Gazeta. There
Yeah,
you go.
800.
600 yards, that's what, like 30 yards a game?
They don't do the math.
Oh, yeah.
They don't do the math.
Would you shut up and stop tearing the fans down?
Because it only takes 53 a game to get 1,000.
All right, shut up. Fournette get hurt, suspended means he won't rush for another 1,000 yards. I don't know. I don't know what Fournette's going to do. What's your take on Fournette? A lot of that's been talked about. Tom Coughlin, no nonsense. Injury-riddled year. Also some distractions on the field, off the field. Can't stay healthy. That was the big-time contention with him coming out of LSU. If he performs well this year like the Jaguars believe he will with Nick Foles, is that a Super Bowl team, the Jaguars?
Well, defensively, you'd like to think so.
Right.
As far as Leonard Fournette, he reminds me, this is going maybe a little too far back for some viewers, but he reminds me a lot of Kelvin Bryant.
No. Well, maybe it is for me. Yeah.
He came out of North Carolina and had sort of or Marcus Dupree, as even going further back.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, had
Yes.
all the talent in the world.
Mhm.
Like could have been a Barry Sanders type back, but neither of them could just stay healthy. And Fournette, as long as he's been on the radar, which is at LSU, he's always had ankle issues.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think you need a top 5 running back to get to the Super Bowl. It helps. It's nice. But if you're a Jaguars fan and you're sort of hanging your hat on the the running game to be Leonard Fournette, it's just not a smart bet.
Well, I mean, go ahead if you want to talk about it.
No, Ren took it right out. Leonard Fournette, everybody's still living off the LSU hype.
Right.
And that early season
Well, they're
success
living
Before he
off
got
the
hurt.
rookie year hype.
Everybody's still holding on to that.
Right.
And that's what Ren's trying to tell you. I wouldn't do it, especially with no backup behind him either. And he didn't do anything in the draft to coincide that either of his injury. And then they lost a step on defense.
Sure.
Yet Malik Jackson left. You got an older Calais Campbell.
Yeah.
You don't have
Well, they drafted Josh Allen now.
Yeah, you don't have Fowler anymore.
Okay.
Ramsey had a little bit of a down year.
Sure.
Ramsey's checked
rookie.
out. I'll say Ramsey's checked out. He wants to be out because that offense wasn't.
You don't think
producing
he comes back this year after
No,
all that
well,
talk?
I mean, when I say he wants to leave Jacksonville, I think he's checked out.
Okay.
And I think wasn't it last year? He has to be traded, wasn't it?
Right.
You're talking about a
Well,
trade?
it was on the offseason. There
Yeah.
was talk that he wanted to be traded. There's no way you're going to trade Jalen
No,
Ramsey for nothing.
Not for nothing. But
No.
if he doesn't want to come back to your team, you might as well get your what he's worth as well, so
Right.
you don't get nothing in the end. But I don't know. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, that big tough defense isn't going to be what it was those couple of years ago when they still had Blake Bortles at the helm. I think everybody kind of got their number now. I don't know.
They got a tough division with the Colts, who
Yeah.
I thought had one of the worst rosters in the NFL starting the season,
They
and they only
believed in each
made the
other.
playoffs and won a playoff game. So what do I know?
They could be the most dangerous
They
team that
believe in
nobody's
each other.
talking about because of Andrew Luck
yeah,
and because of that defense.
offensive line.
Yes, the offensive line.
Offensive
With
line is
Quentin Nelson.
monstrous.
Quentin Nelson has solidified that offensive line.
and speaking
Right.
of offensive line, also in the AFC South is Houston. I mean, Deshaun Watson has been doing it all by himself.
60 sacks last year.
Oh, yeah.
You
and
got
they
to
still
protect
didn't
the
address
guy.
it. They still didn't
They
address
didn't
it.
address it. They
didn't
don't even have a
address it.
general manager.
But you see, 2 years from now, you're going to be talking about how Deshaun Watson was a disappointment. You didn't give any.
Yeah, we're live.
We're live. You didn't give the man any protection. You didn't give the man any run support. He had to rely on DeAndre Hopkins 24/7. So in 2 years ago, I'm talking about, well, Deshaun Watson underperformed. No, the organization underperformed. You didn't get him any help.
No, you don't give him any help, and you're worried about him because Watson has had injuries before, and if you don't protect him, you give up those 60 sacks, he's
God.
not going to see he's not going to see the light of day. He's not going to be able to play a full NFL season. But look, you still have J.J. Watt. They have the Clowney situation. We were talking about that before here on Blake and Blake Sports Live at Ferg's. Do you think there's a possibility? And I know it may be a pipe dream, but some people brought this up.
Okay.
Clowney is out there. He doesn't want to sign a long-term deal with the Texans. I get it. The Bucs just signed Devin White. They don't have a lot of money. Is there a possibility where the Bucs may go a different direction if they feel like JPP is never going to come back? Could you see the Bucs moving on from JPP to move on to Jadeveon Clowney?
I got a player like Jadeveon Clowney's, I guess, pedigree or possibility. He's also had a little bit of an injury bug that's hurt him. It took him a couple years, even playing, with J.J. Watt on the defensive line, to sort of put up these numbers that you're expecting for the first overall number 1 draft pick. But that type of player, I can see that the Bucs would release JPP and be able to get them in, but then they have to sign him long term.
Right.
Now, after this year, the Bucs salary cap is much, much, much more improved, so I don't think that would be a big deal. But as far as the JPP, situation goes, I know you talked about it. You said he's student. You're like, just let him go. I think the first time I came on this pod or Facebook Live, or what do we call this?
We call this the evolution of sports talk television. It's the Sports Weber, Blake and Blake Sports. Join the 62,000 following on Facebook. There you go. There's your clarification.
The first time I came on the evolution of sports,
talk television.
I talked about JPP, and I think I told what I'm saying to fans is that don't count on JPP this year.
Yes, you did say that.
Look for him next year. Because the guy just had his best career since he mangled his hand. Had his best year. 12 and a half sacks isn't anything to scoff at.
Sure.
Now he's paid. We're under the cap. Everyone's signed. So we're good. So if he doesn't come back in October, I think the Bucs have the leeway to be able to wait till next year, next training camp. And if he's still not back, then they can cut him with no penalty because it's the last year of his contract. But if he does come back, I want him.
Yeah.
So
I think
look, that's the approach they're taking.
That's the thing. You're exactly right, because he's your most consistent defensive lineman last year. He called out McCoy, but he showed it on the field consistently, even with the handicap to his hand. He was a monster. You just wonder if he's going to be any type of impact this year. He's saying late October, but again, this. He has a neck injury. You're always engaged with an offensive lineman, even if he's rushing from the outside. I mean, does he become a player that you use in sub packages on third downs to hide him? I mean, what kind of impact, if he does come back in late October, do you think he has on this defense?
Don't forget to add he elected not to get surgery too.
Well, he wants to play. I mean, I like that. He wants to play, but then again, he's taking a chance on quality of life because he could be paralyzed. It's a fractured neck.
That's why I said what I said. That's serious.
Right.
I'm not really on the train of, hey, it's a neck injury. Look out, you're going to be paralyzed the rest of your life. Let's face facts. It's a hairline fracture in one of his vertebrae. Now, it's a scary thing because it's the neck. You talk about the neck, talk about the brain, talk about the head. You people tend to be overly cautious, and rightfully so. But I'm sure the doctors know more than we three do. Okay, and it was a joint decision by the Buccaneers and JPP to see if it heals, and we'll reevaluate in October. And if it's healed, he'll come back. If he gets really reevaluated and the doctor says it's not ready yet, or hey, it hasn't healed as much as it should, and it may never heal, then he may hang them up. But as right now, we're just looking at October as a maybe. And to answer your question, if he does come back in October, I think he'll be fully healthy, and I think he'll start.
Yeah,
he'll be JPP.
All right, there you go. And what you're watching right now is Blake and Blake Sports, or the Sports Web, whatever you want to call it. It's the evolution of sports talk television, live at Ferg's 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether you want to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay Rays, who are facing the Chicago White Sox in Chop at the Trop at 6:10 today. Hopefully the Rays can get off the chopping block as they've lost 4 in a row. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell, and, of course, Rendax, a Pewtercast. Definitely get down here. Great food, great service. Getting you ready for the fight tonight between Keith One-Time Thurman of Clearwater resident. That's where I reside in, by the way, against Manny Pacquiao, who's seen his best days. So it should be a good fight. We'll have your pre-show for that. Talk about that a little bit later on when we're indoors. But let's read some of these comments, and then we'll get back. I want to talk about this Tyreek Hill situation. I want to get the whole panel in on this because – Ray, you have kids. Ren, do you have any kids?
I do not.
So you don't have any kids.
Me neither.
You don't have any kids. I don't have any kids. What the hell is going on here? We got to get Ray in here too.
Ray's the only fertile one.
Let's read some comments here from Bucs Report. Safety might be the weakest point of the D. That's what Ian
I wouldn't say weak.
says.
Incorrect.
I think it could be one of the strongest.
Ren said it best. It's the most wide open. That's the best word I can put it.
Somebody says 14-2. Now that's a bold prediction.
That's
Christopher
bold.
Cole, that's really bold. I want what he has.
That means we're firing on all cylinders from the gate.
It's true. Hey, look, NFL means not for long, so you never know who's going to turn it around. You may expect the Rams to be back in the Super Bowl next year, and they may fall on their face. It's just a team thing. It's a year-to-year thing. You just don't know. That's why you love the NFL. That's why you love these type of shows here on Bucs Report. Ernest was way better than Barber. Come on now.
Who are we talking about?
Ernest Graham and
is way
Peyton
better than
Barber.
Barber.
I think it's
said
a
it's a
worthy
good
comparison.
Because Barber's willing to do whatever it takes to win.
He's a north and south runner. He doesn't do anything.
That's exactly what Graham was.
Right. He needs to work on his hands, but I think with a better offensive line, he'll get better. Right?
I think Barber has improved. I would have called him Ernest Graham before the start of last season, but watching him this season, we talk about Ronald Jones and how every time I got the ball, there was a guy standing in front of him. Well, guess who else got the ball and there's a guy standing in front of him? Peyton Barber.
Mm-hmm.
And he learned to make guys miss. 2 years ago, he was a guy who would get you what was there. Now he makes the first guy miss most of the time and then gets you what's there. He has added breaking tackles. He has added a little bit of a spin move to off the hit to spin to get the extra 1 or 2 yards. And 2nd and 7 doesn't look as good as 2nd and 5, and that's just falling forward.
Sure.
If a guy falls forward, that's 2 yards. So I think right now, I think Barber I think as a back, he's better than Ernest Graham. But he has to have. You got to give him a chance.
Yeah,
you got to give all these guys a chance.
You got to give him a chance. You're exactly right, Johnny Dean, the professor. Barber rushing for 4 yards means he's actually rushed for 6 because he's average being hit 2 yards behind the line.
I feel what you're saying.
Jimmy, he has 5 touchdowns and average 3.6 yards. That's what Jimmy's saying. So Johnny and Jimmy going back and forth. More of a man-to-man D is done properly. I agree with Vernon Hargraves, Sean Bunting. Carlton Davis, who hasn't been talked about, but it seems like they're going to go with Hargraves and Carlton Davis, right? Is there a chance that Bunting makes a push for a starting role?
Remember, Hargraves was playing nickel last season, was playing really well in the offseason until that injury.
Well, but Arians has said, that this is a guy that, a lot of fans think he's a bust, but really hasn't stayed healthy.
And you had Mike Smith as your defensive coordinator.
Right.
Keep going.
You're right. You're not using him correctly. You
can play off as many yards as you want.
Right.
However you feel. You can play at 4. You can play at 10 if you want. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just don't think we know what we have at cornerback because it's been said hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times that they, as in the Buccaneers organization, Jason Light and the scouts, drafted press man corners.
And you didn't play press.
And they didn't play press. So, besides just scratching your head and not understanding that and, when you bring it up, people, the coach would say, I know more football than you do. Yeah, you do, but still you need to answer my question. I don't, why, what's going on here? So, but the whole secondary can look completely different from what it was last year or even what we think it is now. I read an article by Pewter Report, and Scott Reynolds doesn't even have Hargraves starting. As
that's
1, 2, or 3.
That's news to me. Because everything you hear from Bruce Arians, it certainly feels like look, if they were going to go another direction with Vernon Hargraves, I think they would have cut him or they would have tried to trade him. And even then, he doesn't really have value at this point because, like you said, you don't know what you have. He's been injured. But he's being put in the perfect defense, Blake, with Todd Bowles in this aggressive scheme. That's what he played at Florida, a man-to-man scheme.
Well, you don't play man every down, but yes, he's very familiar with playing man coverage.
You know what I mean.
No. I'm just saying it for people who may not understand, because people just think when you say press corners, that's what you play the entire game. That's it, and you're done. No, that's not what you do. Same thing like Ren said with packages and stuff like that. When people say, well, he's going to be starting, that's fine. He may start the first series. Then somebody else might be coming in the second series, depending on. That's why you see people run on and off the field because they're looking to see what packages are coming in. All right, you're in this week, and that's what's going on. And he might not fit this week. Right. I said earlier, Sean Bunting is going to steal some time from people.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Because he's a wide receiver that turned to corner. He understands where routes are supposed to be and the way they're supposed to be ran. And on top of it, most importantly, he's fast and athletic and long and lengthy.
Yeah.
And he has a knack for turning the ball over, much like Charles Tillman.
And you need a player like that because you have Julio Jones lurking, and you don't want Ryan Smith, who, by the way, is not going to play 4 games this season. I don't know if he's going to play for this team because of the salary.
Yep.
Right, $2 million. So Sean Bunting versus Julio Jones. You like that matchup?
I don't know. I haven't seen Sean Bunting.
Yep.
Okay.
He's right.
I'm
Fair.
excited
He's
without
right.
Sean Bunting. I have a
On paper, it looks good because he's a big corner. He's physical. He's also played wide receiver. So, but
it looks
again,
like the best matchup the Bucs could have against him. But I have a sneaky suspicion that Sean Bunting might be the best cornerback on the team.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Brent.
But
that's a bold prediction.
But I have to go see it.
Okay.
Yep, he's right.
Okay.
He's right.
He's right, huh?
He's right. You have to see it, but he's saying what I'm saying. He sees the skills. The boy can play, but you're also talking about Julio Jones now.
Yeah,
that ain't no bum.
No.
Yeah.
So when you talking about, and then you say just playing, he's not going to. First of all, he's not going to play one-on-one on Julio all game because I think Dallas tried that on Calvin Johnson and broke the receiving record.
Well, I think Carolina tried that versus Julio Jones, and I believe he nearly broke the receiving record.
So that
did
just
he not?
you can't cover receivers in this league, man coverage. You're not going to do it.
Jimmy and Johnny going back and forth here.
Are they going at it?
I'm not saying exactly what he is, how he's played. Rojo only added 23 pounds of muscle to hit them holes hard. Ian says Winston is a backup, not a starter. Sorry, it won't give Barber credit for yards he never rushed for. Sandra Nagel is tuned in. Thanks a lot for tuning in. He's had a, I'm not going to say that word, line coach. 3.6 is 4/10 from 4. So I rounded it off. They threw the ball somewhere around 60% of the time, stayed away from the run game. No one would have done better, period. Arian scheme will run around 47 to 52% of the time, which will increase the running numbers. Agree?
I'm sorry, I tuned out a second. What?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of numbers there
there
from Johnny Dean, the professor, and I
Yeah,
think that was thunder or that was a motorcycle. I think that was thunder.
It was thunder. I saw
that was
bolt of
thunder.
lightning.
Okay. We'll probably wrap this up here and see how the weather reacts. It's not just Rojo's weight that was his problem. He couldn't learn the playbook.
Correct.
Maybe we'll be better coaching this year, but Barber is the starter. I agree. Barber is the starter, but people say, well, nothing's changed. He's not going to be able to learn the playbook. No, it's called coaching. You got to coach the guy up to learn the playbook, right?
And I think that was the thing that irritated me most about Dirk Cutter, because the more you watch him, the more you heard him talk, it was he expected his players to come on the field ready to be a pro. And if you weren't, he had no time for you. So he wasn't into the teaching. He wasn't into the coaching part. It was like, I will coach you when you get your head straight and when you have all your, you have all your T's crossed and all your I's dotted. When you come out on the practice field like that, then we can start. With Bruce Arians, he's going to take what he has and someone like Ronald Jones, who did have problems picking up the playbook, who did have problems understanding how to be a pro, who just thought walking into camp, he's a second-round draft pick, been the big man on campus since high school, and he walks in, he really did think he was just going to they were just going to hand him the ball in the starting job, and when it didn't happen, he didn't know how to handle it. But instead of teaching him or helping him, which was Bruce Arians and his coaching staff are doing, Cutter just tossed him to the side,
right?
And whenever you get your head straight and come back, then we'll talk. But it's your second round draft pick. That's not. You can see it both ways, but I like Bruce Arians' style much better.
Yeah. No,
when you're
agree.
a coach, you're a teacher.
That's it.
It is your
You got to
job.
teach.
I said this earlier, and I'll say it again. I said it's your job to make a player better. It's not just the player's job to come out. That is one part. Like Ren said, you can go back and forth with that.
Yeah.
But if you want to win on a winning program, you got to know how to teach people and push the right buttons to get them motivated. Cutter did not do that, which again solidifies why I didn't like when the Bucs kept him over Lovie Smith to begin with, because Cutter, all he wanted to be was a OC.
Yeah.
He wasn't in tune to fixing defense, talking to guys, motivate him. He was literally into calling plays, and that's all he wanted to do. He was not into the aspect of being an entire head coach. I think you said being pro-ready. Cutter was never pro-ready to be a head coach. He was only focused on one half of the ball.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I agree.
Very good coordinator, terrible head coach.
Yep. And we'll see how it works out in Atlanta because he's the new offensive coordinator there.
That's what he's good at.
Right. Well,
Wade Phillips,
right,
best
but it
defensive
didn't.
coordinator of the past 2 decades.
Yeah.
Terrible head coach.
Terrible head coach. And
Terrible
it
head coach.
takes a lot more than just doing the X's and O's. You have to manage those game situations. You're calling timeouts at the inopportune time. You have to figure all that stuff out. And if it doesn't work out, it hinders your team, and that's why it hindered the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of course, undercoached the talent, and that's what the organization has told you. We'll read some more comments, and I think we're going to get off and may come back on here, weather permitting, because it looks like it's getting a little dark, and I just heard thunder, so that means it's in the area. But, of course, you have the Tampa Bay Rays tonight playing at 6:10 versus the Chicago White Sox. So we'll see if they can get a win here, as they lost 4 in a row. Of course, 2 to the Yankees. Just not a good Yankee series at all. So we'll see what the Rays do tonight. All right, let's read some more questions, and then we'll get off. What about this year? Before Barber has never been good. That's all I got to say about that. When has there been a good line? Warthog. He said Warthog. I think he's Warhop.
Warhop.
He said
Warhop.
Warthog has been the line coach through 3 coaching staffs. More excuses. The good find out how to do it with or without a line. Watching from LA, enjoying the banter. Thanks a lot, Ian. Appreciate it. I said micromanage, not mismanage. To me, it's the same thing when it comes to Lovie Smith. Sorry. I do the math. I don't think he'll get the carries. Let's see. That means the coaches believe in Fournette. Will Fuller can't stay healthy either. It's an evolution. It is. Ernest Biner, Donald Penn, Jeremy Zutaw, and Davin Joseph. Those were the keys that Lovie let go that killed the running game. Okay. Worst to first. Pittsburgh versus Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. I'll take it. I'm going to the preseason game in Heinz Field. Johnny Dean, the professor. I'm jealous. That will be a fun preseason game. And, of course, we'll have it here live at Ferg's for your watch party here on the road. Al Keck, Leo Haggerty, yours truly, Blake Cabell. Who knows? Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, Rhett Matthew, maybe Ren Dax in the house. We're doing pre, half, and post-game shows and getting the fans' response because it is the evolution of sports talk television. Great ticket prices, too. Love preseason pricing with TBD O-line. It's hard to tell. The O-line determines which running back you keep. The preseason will tell. Mike Edwards was a steal. Secondary will have a lot of rotation this year.
Yep.
Jamal Dean, that's what Johnny Dean is saying. No relation, but who knows? Johnny Dean is so smart. Maybe he put Jamal Dean with the Bucs. Who knows? He's that smart. Hopefully Jamal Dean. What do you think of Jamal Dean? I think you've talked about him before.
I actually had him on my draft board, redraft.
Really?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
I sure did, because it was familiarity with Carlton Davis.
Yeah, and they're kind of the same player. It was a little head-scratching. You know, when I talk about the draft, I'm too busy to do all the draft work. Mm-hmm. So I will freely admit that I stand on the shoulders of giants. But there's guys that I follow and that I like and do the work and do 300, 310, 350 complete draft profiles on all these players. And the guys that I follow, none of them like Jamal Dean. Like, almost shocked that he was drafted. Now, I don't know if
fastest time, by the way, at the 40 as a cornerback, and I think a lot of people look at that. But look, you also, once again, go back to what they drafted in Mike Edwards. SEC competition. He played in top SEC competition at Auburn.
I'm with you. I'm not sure, and I think they did, but I didn't know that he played the whole entire year in a cast, in his hand in a cast. So if I'm taking what I think the Bucs are seeing, like, why would they take this player? If I take the people that I follow as word as gospel, I'm thinking more versatility. For those guys that do have the Scotty Millers or the Rashad Perrims, those guys that have the Deshaun Jackson, those guys that have the Ted Ginn, these are the games that I think Jamal Dean is going to play more of a style of a cat defense. You know, like a J.J. Nelson in Arizona. He didn't play a lot, but when he came on, what did he do? He ran 9 routes.
Yeah.
Okay, J.J. Nelson comes on the field. Hey, Jamal, get that cat. Yeah. So right now, that's sort of where I'm thinking.
I like that.
I'm sort of thinking
cat
where
defense.
He's going to fit in. I think I'm going to be absolutely wrong. But this is where I've wrapped my head around while Jamal Dean's with the Buccaneers.
Right.
That's the best I can come up with.
All right. Let's see. Lightning, bad weathers come from Fort Myers, headed your direction. So we'll see. We'll keep track of the sky. Lightning, get inside. Be safe. No lightning yet, just thunder. Not a big deal. Let's see. Somebody says don't get hit by lightning. That's Johnny Dean.
Appreciate it.
Warthog. And then it's Jamel Dean. And I know it's Jamel Dean. I said Jamel Dean. I said they could be related to Johnny Dean. Want to get Ray Kennedy in here, talk about this Tyreek Hill situation. You stay put. You guys share a mic together here. Talk about something serious. I talked about it last night. I thought it was outrageous that the NFL did not suspend Tyreek Hill for the situation. You know, kind of to give you the whole picture of this situation with Hill. before he got into the league. He punched his girlfriend in the stomach, who, by the way, he's still with when she was pregnant. Drafted 5th round. He's had issues. Now his little son, who's 3 years old, broken arm. The Kansas City authorities say they can't charge him because they can't find the evidence. I say whoever did it should be thrown in jail. Both of them, either whoever broke his arm should be put in jail, and the one that's hiding it should also be put in jail. The NFL yesterday comes out and says they're not going to suspend Hill. This to me is a pattern of behavior. You have to suspend him because now he's talking about a contract extension. And I kind of just shake my head because, look, Roger Goodell has come out and talked about domestic violence, protecting the shield, doing what's right for the brand. You have this great opportunity to take a stand versus Hill.
And you don't.
And you don't. You're more outraged about smoking pot, smoking marijuana, doing PEDs, kneeling for the flag. The authorities failed the situation, but Roger Goodell failed the situation. Guys, your thoughts?
Who wants to go? You want me to go?
Go ahead, Blake.
Peter's absolutely right. It's disgusting, and it brings me back to where this all started from. It started really with Greg Hardy. I didn't want to mention his name earlier. He brought him back in the league. He played for the Panthers, got to play with the Dallas Cowboys. And I said this before. It seems to me in this league, guys who aren't good people are rewarded,
right?
And the ones that do what they're supposed to do are crapped on. And it's sad, I guess, because he can play ball really well. It goes overshadowed.
Right.
And for that's not something that you could teach somebody not to do anymore. Doing that to a child, punching somebody in the stomach that's pregnant. I don't know how much therapy you can really fix somebody on doing something like that. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not any of that. I'm just talking about as a person that's been around children and got family members that are kids. And just to do something like that is just heinous. And Roger Goodell has shown time after time he's not willing to make a stand on anything. So
especially not domestic violence, because look, you talk about the Ray Rice situation, 2 games until TMZ picks it up, and then it's an outcry. We got to do something. No, you should have did something from the very beginning if you care about the situation. If you truly care about domestic violence, and it seems like, take a stand.
And the irony is the NFL actually the biggest time they take a stand is when you take a knee. And here's my point though about the whole Tyreek Hill thing.
It's the truth.
Offhand, name the first team that comes to mind, the one of the 32 that doesn't sign him as a free agent if the NFL clears him, but the team step up, right?
Everybody.
So, but here's my problem, and Blake, I'm almost, touch a child in any way, shape, or form, and I see it in public, I'll kick your butt right then and there. I have no problems with going to jail for that charge, and I'll take that 7 days a week. The Tyreek Hill situation, unlike the Kareem Hunt situation, it almost is a he said, she said. Now you're right though, Peter. There is a history of action here that makes you.
I'm glad you mentioned that because there's some audio. We'll get to your Rendax. We'll finish up. Let's play this audio in case you missed it last night from TMZ Sports here live on Blake and Blake Sports and the Sports Web. Here you go.
He is terrified of you, and you say that he respects you, but it's not respect. It's terrified. He is terrified of you.
You need to be terrified of me too. No. That's why you can't.
We were getting into it, and he said, "Daddy, you're mean." So we walked up the stairs.
Right.
You
and then
said, "Come back down here."
Right.
And he didn't want to go down there, but I was like, "Go down there because it'll end up worse for you."
Right.
So he walked down there, and then you were getting on his about.
And then you said something, right?
No, you kept getting on, and then he started crying, and then you were like, "Stop! Shut up! Stop crying!
Right.
Stop crying! Stop crying!"
Right.
And then he kept crying because he was scared. He's terrified, and you grabbed onto him somehow, or he fell. One of the two.
I didn't do nothing. That's sad, bro. That is really sad.
Then why does he say Daddy did it? Why? Why does say Daddy did it?
I don't know. He says Daddy does a lot of things.
Like what? A 3-year-old's not going to lie about what happened to his arm. And now somehow this investigation got brought back up, and you're about to lose your. So now I really want you to sit and think about it because I rode for you against that detective and the CPS people, and they said time and time again that literally kept saying, Daddy punches me, which you do when he starts crying. What do? You make him open up his arms and you punch him in the chest. And then if he gets in trouble, you get the belt out and you
okay,
do.
so what about you? You what you don't do? You also I'm just gonna take it.
No,
that,
I told.
You don't
I
be
told him that he gets whooped. I told him that he gets whooped, but I don't use a belt, which is totally
you
different.
do use a belt, and that's sad. Even my mama said you use a belt.
When have I used a belt? When have you seen me use a belt? When have I used a belt?
All right, there you go. Welcome back to Blake and Blake Sports and the Sports Web live here at Ferg's, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, Rendax, the Pewter Cast. So go ahead, finish your thought there, my friend.
So my thing was, it's like, unlike the Kareem Hunt situation where, and even after I watched the video of him in the lobby, as egregious as it was, and it was egregious, he was taking a swipe as he's walking away, and Lord knows what he was under the influence of. In this situation, and I've listened to that tape quite a few times, and again, backing it up with the fact that I would always go after someone who touches a child. I got to say, it almost comes down to a he said, she said, and even with the history of actions, to want to say the fact that he deserved to be suspended, it's guilt, innocent until proven guilty. It's the very foundation upon our democracy. I can't look at what happened in that situation with the broken arm. I don't know if it's she's mad because they broke up. Did she not get paid? Did they not have a relationship? Did she convince her 3-year-old to say Daddy did this? Is he afraid of Daddy because Daddy speaks loud? I speak loud. If my kids said at 3 years old they were afraid of me because I was loud, I don't want you to think I was violent. So again, for me, it was a gray area. But again, the NFL has shown that they're not going to be doing anything about
Right.
that.
Well, here's the thing for me. Jameis Winston gets suspended 3 games for the Uber situation. There's no evidence that we know about at all. You have
it was 2 years old,
right? You have
Except for
Ezekiel.
she did file a complaint that night with Uber.
Right.
And I'm not saying that makes
She
him
didn't call the
guilty.
police.
Well, yeah, but that actually...
And that's a he said, she said.
But this is a video that he recorded in the after fact, and I'm not saying... He never actually said, hell yeah, I beat the crap out of that kid. He was trying to get her to come forward. So from that video, from that audio alone, I can't say, oh, yeah, this is a situation. I can't say that that's...
But if the NFL is based on being consistent and saying we're going to suspend a guy for pattern of behavior when you've done it in the past with Jameis Winston, with Ezekiel Elliott, I don't understand why Tyreek Hill is not being suspended by the NFL, besides the fact that he's a superstar for the Chiefs and the NFL doesn't want that black guy. Rendax, what do you think? Yep.
I don't really like to talk about these type of things when we talked earlier about Colin Cowherd, because I'm not there. Like, I don't follow the Chiefs really closely. One thing I can say, and I feel like why this gets fans and NFL fans and people in general upset, but you have to remember, like, when someone gets busted for pot, that means they failed 5 drug tests. 5.
Right.
Not just 1.
Right.
Okay? When someone gets busted for PEDs, they have failed 4 drug tests. That's just the first suspension. Okay? So when something, as bad as it sounds, as bad as it was, as bad as it maybe not is, it's a one-time thing, and you have to take that into account before you start jumping in and giving your opinion. And you should get all the facts, because this is someone's livelihood. This is someone's livelihood. Okay, is Tyreek Hill a nice guy? Maybe not. That doesn't mean he can't work in America.
Right.
Is he a jerk? Probably, but that doesn't mean he can't work in America. That means he can't go out he's allowed to go out and make as much money as he possibly can. Now, I understand working for the NFL is a privilege, but I don't know all the facts. So on the outside, of course, it looks horrible and disgusting, and I can't believe Roger Goodell allowed this, but I don't know what happened. That video you just played, never seen it, never heard it. So the only thing I would like to say about these Ray Rice situations and Tyreek Hills and the Greg Hardys is it only happened one time, and then you're going to be judged for your career on that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes with Greg Hardy and Ray Rice, it was justified.
Right.
I don't know yet with Tyreek Hill. But when you sort of throw in this, well, you're worried about pot smokers, you worry about guys that, just trying to enhance their, well, they have failed multiple times before it comes out to the public and they get suspended. So that's just one little thing to think about. But again, like I really don't like to comment on these things because I just don't know.
My point of contention is if Goodell has come out and said he's going to take a stance on domestic violence and, again, protecting the shield, be consistent with it. If you're going to suspend Elliott for a pattern of behavior and Jameis Winston and other guys, be consistent. And I don't think they have been consistent.
Well, I think therein lies the reason why this argument is, again, one of those contentious issues is because if we're talking about the Shield and the brand, any question of this nature, any kind of
and look, we're not going to stop watching NFL football games. You're not. There's a lot of fans out there that's not going to. Maybe some fans will stop watching it because they're kneeling for the flag, and to me, they should maybe stop watching it for this.
That's the part I was at when you saw me post on social media. I said, you'll get outraged for him taking a peaceful protest, not hurting anybody, actually doing a lot in the community. But you're okay with activities like that. Just confused.
I gotta wonder.
I'm just confused.
In a situation like this, so there's Roger Goodell. He's sitting on Park Avenue, and he's sitting in his big office making, what, $25 million a year, insurance for life. And something like this comes down the pipe, or someone yells from the front office, "Hey, Raj, did you hear what happened with Tyreek Hill?" The first thing he's got to be thinking is, God, I hope there's a police report or there's solid video, because if not, a slippery slope, and that's where we're at.
And then you look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They basically wash their hands with Kareem Hunt, and he goes to Cleveland, and he gets a 10-game suspension.
Boom.
And then you don't wash your hands with Tyreek Hill. Let's read some more comments.
I said that before about consistency. You know, about teams. Remember, I think we were talking about there's one thing with Goodell, but there's other thing with the teams. They all got to be in sync. Because they all have meetings, and they say, okay, everybody's just not going to sign this guy once he's cut. Everybody's got to come in agreement and have a standard. It can't just be Goodell either, because look at Kareem Hunt. Got picked up once he got cut. Chiefs did the right thing. Cut him. But then the Browns pick you right up.
The difference, and that's the thing. If you don't have that, look, I get it. The guy adheres to the suspension. If you don't have a team that picks him up, and if you take it seriously, somebody asked me the other day, PED suspension, first time 10 games. How many people do PEDs after that? If you go domestic violence, look, you're out of the league for a year. How many people are going to take? How many people are really going to take that chance off the field to do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not. I don't think anyone wakes up and says, "Hey, I'm going to commit domestic violence today." But I just wanted to talk about the Kareem Hunt, Tariq Hill thing. The reason the Chiefs let go of Kareem Hunt is because he lied to them about what happened. Yeah, and that was their reason. They're like we would have worked with you, we would have helped you, we would have worked this out and made a decision later. But you lied to us about what happened. You lied to us about what happened, and now we just can't trust you. You broke our trust.
And then the video
You're gone.
came out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, all right, and guys, real quick, 19 years, going on 20 years of marriage, 3 kids. I've never said to my wife,
"Congratulations."
I thank you. I've never said
she's
to
a
my
saint,
wife,
by the way.
Well, what I'm saying
is that why you're wearing glasses? You got a black eye?
Come
so
on.
Hey, so let me.
You had to go there with that, Blake. You had to go, didn't you?
Is Uncle Mike here? So,
will you
but
shut
here's my
up?
point. Even if the NFL were to say, okay, every time there's a question about domestic violence, if it be a video on some baby mama or some wife's video, maybe he's talking to his mom. If there's a question of domestic violence, we're going to go automatic 2-game suspension. My point is, I've never said to my wife, I'm going to beat my kids. But in 20 years of marriage, I've said a couple of things that I would not have wanted recorded and played back. So the gray area, again, in our great democracy that is the United States of America, even though the NFL is an entertainment industry, we got to say innocent till proven guilty. And if it's he said, she said, there's a large slippery slope.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff here. Great debate on Blake and Blake Sports, the Sports Web, live on Bucs Report. Join the 62,000 following live from Ferg's 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Yours truly, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Cabell, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, Ren Dax from Pewtercast. Let's read some more comments, and then we're going to get out of here. We're going to figure out if we're going to come back on and do another show. It is kind of getting, again, a little dark, and we'll get you ready for that fight tonight here if we can. So, Jimmy says, I think it's atrocious, messing up the ratings. Hunt pushed a girl. Hill broke his 3-year-old's arm and hits his wife. He's allegedly, right.
You got to say that.
Right. Okay. And he's no man in my eyes, just a punk. Hunt got booted immediately. Hill gets off. I agree. Hunt and Hill, especially Hill, whom too many weapons getting taken away from money bag Mahomes. Hunt got 9 games. Hill missed no time or money. Hey, Tampa Bay, and breaking your kid's arm. Excuse me. Somebody knows about what happened. Who knows who did it? I think both of them should be put in jail. When the authorities are coming out and saying we don't know who broke the kid's arm, put him in jail, because there's no way that somebody doesn't know what happened in that incident. Final thoughts, Blake Cabell.
Get down here, Fergs. Support Bucs Report and everybody else. Ren Dax, Young Rhett, OJ the Juice Man, everybody. Yeah, support it. Yep.
I think the sun is getting to you.
The sun? No,
Yeah,
I'm good,
no.
man. It's the
All right, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. Well, you know what? Rendax, the Pewtercast.
I'd like to leave you with this last hot take that I think is going to happen for the NFL season. I think Scotty Miller will lead the team in yards per catch average and get 6 TDs or more.
Wow, Scotty Miller. Wow, bold prediction by Rendax, a Pewtercast. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, get in that mic. What's your final thoughts?
Real quick, going to follow that thought up. He's got the speed of Deshaun Jackson and the over-the-middle skills of Humphreys. I think Scotty Miller might be our breakout rookie this season, but maybe right behind Devin White.
All right, there you go. Good stuff here live on Blake and Blake Sports, the Sports Web. Live from Fergs for Blake Cabell, for Rendax, for Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. We'll see you later.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast, Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.